We'll be live.
Hello.
Hello. God, look, we were late for half a second, and something I don't remember is complaining already. It's already 5:30. Okay, we'll arrive. Okay, we click on the button. It takes a while for it to process, and we're live. I don't get it. Apostate Prophet sets a live stream, and he's like half an hour late. Okay,
Oh, 45 minutes sometimes, like
45
a solid
minutes later. And we're late for 20 seconds, and you guys complain. Soha is confirming that the audio is great. Guys, in the live chat, let us know where you're watching from, because we enjoy knowing how international our community is. So if you say, I don't know, from Mexico, from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Iran, from Egypt, from Turkey, we will highlight it. From the US, okay, we will highlight it from, see, it's already coming. Are saying hello from Hong Kong. Nice.
Ooh.
Right? So, wow, that's pretty. Romania. Okay, cool. So I will keep trying to pay attention to the live chat, and if I see people are mentioning where they're watching from, I'll make sure to try to highlight it throughout the show. Okay, so keep them coming. Okay, so we're going to be covering the news, and we have 10 news like every week. Susanna, today's news are mostly sad, tragic. It's mostly around religion for people who are new here. And is it sad, tragic, funny, ridiculous? And what countries are we covering?
We are covering a lot of news from India this week. We have some news from Nigeria, Afghanistan, the United States, and, well, of course, our top story is from Iran. And we're going to talk about one specific story in terms of the rebellion that's happening, but then we'll also give some general updates about the protests and revolution as well. Because instead of just coming every week with just a number of how many people have been killed and arrested, I want to do a deeper dive into some more important aspects of what's happening, and then also talk about those things as well. So yeah, I'm excited for today. It's like a mix of there's definitely some things that are very tragic, but then we're also going to have some very fun coverage at the end that I think everyone will enjoy. So
nice.
A lot to
we have viewers from Iran right now.
Hey!
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so can we clap for the first news?
Yes, this was crazy, Armin. Oh my God. Okay.
All right, so let's clap. Okay, so sometime I'm going to pay attention to the live chat as well. So if I miss something you said and I ask you to repeat it, don't get pissed at me, okay?
I know.
Paying
I'm
attention.
sorry.
It's okay.
I know. I always do that.
All right, it's okay. I'm going to try to I'm doing multiple things at the same time. All right, so I'm going to clap. First news.
Ayatollah Khamenei's rule declared illegitimate by Iranian Islamic scholars. Guys, I cannot emphasize how significant this is. This is the call out of the past 40 years. It's it's such a big call out. Okay. Recently, Islamic scholars and seminarians from many religious schools in Iran are challenging the authority and legitimacy of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's leadership due to the crimes committed by his regime. In a statement released on the 30th of September, an anonymous collective from seminary schools in Qom, Mashhad, and Tehran, the country's holiest cities, claimed that, quote, none of the influential officials and people with a platform are mujtahids and do not have seminary education. A mujtahid is considered an authoritative Islamic scholar whose interpretations of jurisprudence are accepted as original and valid by contemporaries. It is one of the highest levels of Islamic scholarship and a prerequisite for the position of supreme leader as dictated by the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Iran itself. The group also clarified that they are breaking their silence over the ongoing violent crackdown on protesters. They considered it their, quote, religious and moral duty to inform the rulers and the nation of their opinion. Despite being a legal requirement to wear the hijab in Iran, the group of clerics and their students clarified that, quote, the compulsion to observe hijab has no Sharia reason.
Okay, this is significant. You know,
This is incredibly significant.
this has been an open secret. It's not even a secret. Like, ever since Khamenei has become the supreme leader, from the very beginning, it was clear to everybody that his leadership, him being the supreme leader of Iran, violates the conditions for being a supreme leader by Iran's own constitution.
But not just Iran's constitution, the Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution.
Yes, yeah, okay. Yeah, the Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution, right? The government's, the regime's constitution, right? Because he's not a marja, he's not even a mujtahid. And that was a condition for somebody to be a supreme leader. So a mujtahid is somebody who has been teaching Islamic law and Islamic jurisprudence and a whole bunch of other theological nonsense for a while, and has been recognized. Okay, Susanna's mic is on, even though she left away. She went left. I'm going to turn it off. So it's not. So he's recognized officially and officially by a whole bunch of other mujtahids to be a mujtahid. So he's teaching. He has passed this whole bunch of levels. He has, I don't know, check mark a whole bunch of. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know how the categorization works, but eventually a whole bunch of other very well recognized mujtahids officially recognized as a mujtahid. Okay, and then a mujtahid in an Islamic scholar or teacher or somebody who could give rulings, somebody who could do ijtihad and give make clarifications on how Islamic jurisprudence is supposed to be followed and stuff, okay, who has a decent amount of following and people who emulate you in Shia Islam, is considered a marja. So marja is like one level higher than mujtahid. You become a mujtahid and you become a marja, okay? Khamenei wasn't a marja. He wasn't even a goddamn mujtahid when he became the supreme leader. A major violation of Iran's constitutions, right? So now, and this has been like a whole bunch of mullahs in Iran know this, and we're like, they kind of pissed about this, okay? Because Khamenei has been pissing on all their, like, they are way higher than him when it comes to Islamic, like, what the level that he is based on their standards. He's below a lot of these people, and he's now the supreme leader and the main marja, not just in Iran, okay, but in the Shia world, okay, in the Shia world above Sistani, okay, apparently in Iraq, Sistani, who's the main actual marja in Shia Islam, okay, because he has way higher credentials than Khamenei based on all this Islamic mumbo jumbo based on their own standards, right? So for Khamenei to have a bigger following and be considered more powerful and a more recognized authority in Shia Islam, for somebody who's like at such a low level, okay, when it comes to religious credentials, is like him pissing on their entire standards, right? And this has been a major grievance that all these mullahs have had for all these years. But the fact, I know when I was a kid back in Iran, I remember some mullahs said something one time, and I don't know, they disappeared or something. Something happened to them. I don't know how they shut them up. I don't remember exactly how they managed to shut them up. But they usually don't say much, okay? These mullahs. But now the fact that all these people are coming out and saying it openly like this shows that as big of the anti-religious aspect of these protests are right now in Iran, the religious side is also very significant, right? And the anti-regime protests in Iran is weakening the confidence and the support for the regime enough for these other mullahs to grow enough balls right now, religious balls, to come out and say that, now is the time for us to talk about this multi-decade grievance that we have had with your supreme leadership. And this is significant, okay? Because even if the streets of Iran are filled with protesters, okay, there's a sect of Iran that is very religious, that is wondering, like, yeah, is this like, I want to make sure I'm Islamically correct when I'm opposing this mofo, right? And when all these mullahs come out and say like, yeah, this guy's legitimacy is questionable and blah blah blah, that makes the religious part of Iran also more likely to join the non-religious part of Iran in joining the opposition against the regime. So that's why this is so significant. This is the regime's base. The religious Iranians are the base of this republic, so-called republic, right? If the non-religious are lost, but if you lose the religious, then you are it will be a house of cards. The main pillars that this regime is founded upon is looking very shaky if you lose the religious people. But yeah, you want to say something?
There is so much about this report that I want to get into. So first of all, okay, I don't know if it's because I can only read this through auto translate, right? But I actually have the statement in Farsi and then auto translated from English, so we can go over that if you'd like. I think it would be really fun. But they go after everyone. What was reported in like English media was just like a little like about Khamenei and a little bit about Iran's president Raisi. And they talk about how Raisi's education is trash. And they're like, he makes mistakes that even like minor age students wouldn't make. Like, but it was so funny when I read the full statement because they go after everyone. It's not just Khamenei, it's not just Raisi. Like on all these different levels of government, they're calling out all these officials and basically saying, you're uneducated, you're vulgar, you don't know what you're talking about. He's only known as an average translator of some texts. I was like, oh, damn.
So,
like
so to be
calling out and insulting everyone, I'm like, this is juicy.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is so they don't go after Khamenei like that, right? So Khamenei has lower credentials than a lot of mujtahids in Iran, but he is educated. Okay, he's like well read and educated. He's just not high in credentials when it comes to religious standards by all these other mujtahids. So that's the supreme leader. Okay, and I don't think they would dare talk about him like that. They would challenge his supreme leadership, maybe as they have, but they wouldn't talk so insultingly about him. The president, which is not doesn't have that level of authority and respect or sacredness as a supreme leader. He's an embarrassment. Raisi, that's what they're talking about. He finished 6th grade elementary school. That's his highest level of education, okay? And he doesn't seem to be able to speak, not English, but Persian, his mother language. He sucks at it, right? So, and it's very embarrassing. So they challenged Khamenei's supreme leadership authority, but they went after Raisi hard. There was burn after burn after burn. It was embarrassing.
I was reading this. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, but here's the thing: doing sick burns on Raisi is an indirect attack on Khamenei as well. Okay.
Yes.
Because the last elections in Iran, which Raisi became the president, it was some sham elections, even according to the pro-regime people, right? So previous elections, some anti-regime people were like, this is nonsense. This is not even a real election. But this time it was so transparently, a sham election that even the pro-regime people were like, okay, come on. Like, at least maybe dress it up a little bit better the next time. By the way, the way that they run elections are sham elections is not like a conspiracy theory where you like change the votes and stuff like that. Okay, so we're not doing like a Trump like conspiracy theory. The way they do it is that the candidates, not everybody can become candidates, right? So they pre-select the candidates, and all the ones, so basically they pre-select the candidates in a way that the person that they want to be elected gets elected, and that's how Raisi got elected. So that's why it was basically not really an election. Oh, we got a new new member. Noman041 just became
a new member. Thank you for becoming welcome to Satan's Minions, Noman. Thank you for becoming a member.
Thank you for your support.
And he
All right,
says,
continue.
I'm not late today. I love
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Oh, not new as well. Maybe he's just renewing his membership.
okay. Well, welcome again
Okay.
anyways. I love
Okay.
to say it.
Yes.
Okay, so there's so much more I want to get into about this report. I've been reading it in the English auto translation, but like sometimes that doesn't work very well and a lot of it doesn't make sense. So I pulled it up in Persian and English. If you want to like go over it, Armin, let me know. Because there's so much about this that is so important in terms of religious significance because they are obviously I don't like observe the authority of it, but within their own internal system of Islam and their own internal logic, they are going through and talking about why this is illegitimate. And so I thought that was so important and interesting to go over. So, like, for example, they basically say in this statement that anyone who is oppressing the people should be subject to the retributive justice of, I can never pronounce it right, Kisos? Kisos?
That's us.
Kisos, thank you. And so that itself, I was like, oh, boom. And basically, they compare the current regime and the supporters and the enforcers of this regime to how do you pronounce it? Muawiyah.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Muawiyah. So in Shia, okay, yeah, Muawiyah was the first Umayyad Khalif after the Khalif of the Islamic world, after the four rightly guided ones, according to Sunni Islam, the rightly guided ones, Khalifs. Muawiyah was basically the leader of the Caliphate of Islam, of the Islamic world, who Shias hate, right? Shias consider Muawiyah and his son Yazid to be the oppressor of their main imams, Hassan, Ali, Hassan, and Hussein, right? So this is significant. To compare this regime to Muawiyah is compare them to an Islamic leadership that they consider, that Shia Islam considers fascistic, in a sense.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is so important. Okay, so here's what I'm going to read. The translation is a little bit weird, so stay with me. We, a group of students and teachers in the seminaries of Qom, Mashhad, and Tehran, declare the government must immediately end the violence against the protesters and stop killing people, release the detainees, and as soon as possible, hold a referendum under the supervision of an international organization. Due to the deaths of most of the voters and the non-participation of the majority of the current population in Iran, the past referendum has no validity for the current time, and the government's commanding and humiliating gathering on the streets are not only delegitimizing, but have become a source of ridicule. The Iranian people have a right to protest, and in case of violence against them, they have the right to legitimately defend themselves against the oppressors. So can you talk about what they're referring to in terms of this referendum for people that don't know?
So after the Islamic Revolution in 1979, there was a referendum for people to decide what type of government they want. Okay, and reportedly, we learned this in elementary school in Iran as well. I don't know how real this number is, but reportedly 98% of the people after the Islamic Revolution in 1979 in that referendum voted for an Islamic Republic, right? 98%. Okay, so we don't. A lot of people against the regime say that's lie, that's nonsense. Okay, I don't know how big of a lie this is. I wasn't there. Okay, but I don't know really. Okay, but these people, these mullahs, are saying that even if that, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, are saying even like that 98% referendum does not apply to the people today. Most Iranians today were not taking part in that referendum. So the Iranians that are living today have not chosen an Islamic Republic. We need another referendum. Is that fair? Is that what they're saying? Okay.
That's what they're saying. And either
I mean, 98% is one of those numbers. You know, again, I don't know. 98%. I don't know if the referendum was real or not, but 98% is one of those numbers that you get from fake referendums. You know what I mean? Like you get from Saddam or like in North Korea.
Bashar al-Assad and his
Bashar
dad.
al-Assad. Yes. That's the kind of numbers that you get. So that's why
there is no population that agrees with anything to 98% levels. What?
Yeah. Also, I also have people in my family that swear that they were allowed to vote 3 or 4 times, given that they were voting yes to the Islamic Republic, right? I don't know if they're lying to me or not, but these are also reports that I heard. So I'm very skeptical about the 98%, but sure, whatever. Yeah.
And this was so interesting. So they use this quote about Muawiyah and they say, "We do not know any fitna greater than your guardianship over this nation."
What? Say that again?
We do not know any fitna greater than your guardianship over this nation.
Okay, this is too extreme. Is this real? I mean, not too like this is like execution worthy language.
I mean, this has been reported on by Radio Farda, Iran Wire, and Iran.
But this language is real, coming out of the mullahs in Qom?
This is what I found in terms of what they were referencing back to from Zaytuns.
Zaytuns, yeah. This is insane. This is very radical. We have crossed a lot of red lines in Iran in the past 3 weeks. Like, God damn it.
Armin's head is spinning. He's like, I never thought I would see this.
Yeah. You should. Babak read this as well, right? This is crazy.
No, he didn't have time to read it this morning.
Okay.
Wait, where there was something. Sorry, the translation to some of this is not very good, but there was something else I wanted to read. Oh my God, Armin! They called this regime shirk.
No, what?
So
read it.
Mogang. I can't do the gray. I can't do gray sound. So forgive me. Niani, who was a true example of a clerical mullah and not like this uneducated and worldly person, writes in his precious book, Taibinya Alame, quote, "Religious tyranny consists of arbitrary wills that those associated with clerical politics declare as religion, and they force the ignorant nation to obey him through extreme ignorance and lack of knowledge of the requirements of their religion. And this obedience and following is not based on the decree of God. Therefore, it is of the level of polytheism."
Wow. Man, they gone beyond just declaring this person not fit for being a supreme leader. They're questioning his state as being a Muslim. They're questioning his faith. They're questioning him. Very not just damning him to not be as a supreme leader. They're questioning whether he is a Muslim or not. Now, this is very extreme. They're takfiring him. They're takfiring him.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
"We explicitly declare that this government has nothing to do with Islam and has made Islam merely a pretext to rule over the people and has no qualms about slaughtering it for its own survival."
Jesus Christ.
"Cooperation with the government is an example of helping the oppressors, and as a result, it is forbidden." They're saying it is haram to support and enforce the will of this regime. So in terms of what you were saying, in terms of speaking to a religious base, like think about that declaration. They also talk about in this statement how they were threatened by the office of Mujtaba Khamenei's son, who is basically likely going to be his successor, and talk about how they were threatened with basically death if they break their silence. But what do you think? Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. No, you go ahead.
What do you think about this declaration of helping the oppressors is forbidden?
Well, I mean, are these people marjas? Like, I know, like, what what is their level? What's their power level of these
We don't know.
mullahs?
We don't know how many. We don't know who. We just know that this is a collection of scholars and seminarians from Qom, Mashhad, and Tehran. There was no signatories.
There's no signatories. Okay. Because because a lot of these people could be marjas, right? And if they're marjas, I mean, I don't know if they're marjas or not. That means that they have a following that of religious people that are supposed to accept their ruling, and if they make it haram to follow this regime, that would be, I don't know, a major fallout of many people religiously being obligated, maybe even, to not support this regime. That would be crazy.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. This one quote I thought was really interesting. It is quoted from the great Islamic scholar and commentator of the Holy Quran, Allama Tabatabai.
Wait. This is funny. No, Oxymoron's comment is very funny, okay? So because they're accusing him of being a polytheist, an oxymoron who's like a traditional, like a cultural Hindu, okay, who is officially, but according to Islamic standard, a polytheist. He's like, please do not associate this guy with us. Right? Like,
we do not associate with the regime.
We do not. We polytheistic communities don't want to associate with this regime. Like, how dare you, mullahs? Do not insult us by comparing this man to us. That's amazing. That's good. I like it. Go on.
Oh my gosh. This is so. I just thought this was really interesting. They have this quote in this statement where they say the first martyr of this revolution was Islam.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, by the way, we don't agree with any of this, okay? Islam is horrible. These people are mullahs, so they're saying this is, like, obviously the real Islam, the true Islamic standards, is even worse than this regime, okay? So
true.
But that's not the point that we want to discuss here, okay? The point is that we're talking about their internal conflict, okay? Even though we disagree with these mullahs that, Islam is, I don't know, better than I don't know, what is it? Say something good. But it's really good, and we like it, and it has good standards, and it's pro-human, and it's like anti-fascist or stuff like that. Even though we disagree with that, the point is that these people are having a major internal conflict right now. Okay, the higher ups in the regime and the religious people are turning on religious people in Iran, and if the Islamic Republic of Iran ever is toppled, is not going to be because the non-religious were fighting with the religious, okay? The only way that this regime will topple is because the hardliners turned on each other, right? So we are seeing, I'm not saying this will happen, but we are seeing what is required for such a thing to happen. And the only way that the regime falls is for us to see more hardliners turning on each other.
Yeah, and also just because I'm a nerd, it's very interesting for me to see how they use their own scripture, their own internal logic of the faith to argue against the dominant clerical class. I find that really interesting. There's so many good insults in this. It's so funny. So they give a huge list of people who are involved in the judiciary. And they say, there is no doubt that the average level of intelligence, literacy, consciousness, and culture of the Iranian nation is much higher than the officials and tribunes of this government.
What is it? What is it with the birds? The sick, what? Savage mullahs. That should have been the title. The title of this news segment should have been "Savage Mullahs Turned into Khamenei's Regime." That's what it should have been.
we can have the clip be named that. That's so funny. This government is a clear example of presenting the scoundrels and delaying the virtuous. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my God. Here's another one. They're like, going after the guy who's the former secretary of the headquarters for commanding good and forbidding evil, which is like a a very Islamic concept, and saying, however, he is unable to comply with the minimum requirements, and his behavior and speech are a source of spiritual humiliation.
Oh my god.
There's another guy where they're just like, he's not even that good. He's only known as an average translator at best. I'm like, God damn. So yeah, and basically they, in terms of the statements on the mandatory hijab, they basically say that there is nothing in Sharia or interpretations that says that this should actually be something that's like mandated by the state, all that stuff. So I thought that was really interesting. But I think before we move on to the next news segment, it is worthwhile to talk about some other updates that have been happening, because
wait, before we do that, can
was
I
a huge
address
day.
some questions? Can I address some questions in the live chat?
Yes.
Okay. So Kian is saying, had Khomeini the conditions to be the supreme leader? Why did he then designate Khamenei? Yeah, Khomeini did have the conditions to be the supreme leader. I mean, he became, he wrote the conditions. So obviously he would write the conditions that would make him fit as well. Right? So yeah, Khomeini did meet the conditions. And then the follow-up question is, why did he then designate Khamenei? Honestly, he didn't. Hashemi Rafsanjani, who's dead, he claimed that he heard Khomeini pick him. Okay, that's all. Okay, so it's just, and also, so it's just word of mouth that Khomeini had picked Khamenei. But Khomeini himself has in writing that do not believe anybody, any quote by me, unless it's my actual audio or my writing with my signature on it. Okay? So Khomeini has clarified himself in writing that do not believe anybody that when they quote me. And Khamenei's supreme leadership is based on hearsay of one person that claims that he has heard Khomeini pick Khamenei. So Khomeini didn't actually, I think, pick Khamenei. In fact, what we have on record by Khomeini is him saying to Khamenei that he has not understood the concept of the guardianship of the jurist to the slightest. He told him that you do not even begin to, based on, he got angry with him at some point, and he's like, you have no clue about this entire school of thought. Like, you are below the level of even understanding any of this. That's what Khomeini told Khamenei when he was alive.
Well, and Khamenei himself has said, like, I cry tears of blood for a nation that has me as its leader. Didn't he say that?
Right. And before that, he said, we have video of him, which was eventually leaked and everybody saw, that obviously I don't have the credentials to be the supreme leader. He himself, like when they were discussing making him the supreme leader, that's what he said. And we have that recording video of it. That you're like, obviously it's illegal for me to be the supreme leader. He said that. We have that on video. So there's
that's so crazy.
Yeah.
So I think we should give some general updates into what's been happening recently. Oh, wait, do you want to address this question first?
Yeah. So something I don't remember is saying, isn't the Islamic Republic of Iran founded upon the 5 pillars of Islam? The 5 pillars of Islam is mostly emphasized on the Sunni side, not on the Shia side. Something I don't remember is also saying, so what's the guarantee that the next government won't be hardline Islamist? There is no guarantee. There's no guarantee in anything. Yeah, but what you could do is make it less likely. But no, there's no guarantee. Okay, it's just hard to imagine, though, given that the Iranian people really want secular democracy. Right, so there's that. Okay, go on.
So, okay, in terms of updates, according to, let me pull it up here, Iran Human Rights, which is a Norwegian-based NGO, there have been at least 185 people killed, and approximately 19 of those who were killed were children. They say that they're doing extra work to confirm the ages of people involved. Because what they do is they actually go and look at people's death certificates. They confirm what happened with their families and stuff like that. So it's more thorough than a lot of other ways of determining this kind of thing. And it's important to note that essentially half of that number, 90 out of 185 of those killed, are in Sistan and Baluchistan. Now, for those who don't know, on what was it? Not this, what was the actual date? Okay, on September 30th. On September 30th in Sistan and Baluchistan province, which is a largely Baluch area, and they are mostly Sunnis, not Shias, Muslims, there was Friday prayers that were happening. And then after the Friday prayers, a group of teenagers, there's kind of conflicting stories, but basically people were going to protest the fact that a local police commander RAPE'd, okay, I can't say the real word because of YouTube, R-worded a like 14, 15-year-old girl. And so there are some reports that what happened was during or after Friday prayers, a group of teenagers went to a local police station and started throwing stones at the police station. Other reports are that people after Friday prayers went and just started protesting themselves. Basically, the police just started shooting at people. Some reports even say shooting into the mosque, which is the largest Sunni mosque in the country. And there have been hundreds of people injured. And over the past few weeks, since the 30th, just the death toll has continued to rise from this event. The death toll is now reportedly 90 people. So the government committed a massacre, straight up committed a massacre against its own citizens. They were shooting at people from inside the police station. There are some reports that they were using, I've seen videos of them using snipers to shoot 16-year-olds. And there's another report that a few days later, 4 other Baluch citizens were driving in an open roof car and were killed from a military helicopter. So huge death toll. And it's just been dubbed Zahedan's Bloody Friday because of this massive massacre. And there's a huge lack of available blood for the people who are, in critical condition. And so one thing that I actually have really liked to see is that I've seen like a pan-national movement to do blood drives for the people in Zahedan. And I saw photos of people giving blood, and they like showed a little sign of where they're from to like give blood to Zahedan. And I think this is really important because this is another example of like really firm multi-ethnic unity in Iran, where previously it's become like more easy to divide people on the basis of religious or like not religious, ethnic or tribal lines. PK is asking, when did this happen? This happened on September 30th. So very, very recently. And it's not getting that much attention, which shocks me.
Because they're poor. Because it's the poorest region of Iran. One of the poorest regions of Iran. And they're not like, it's far away from central cities. That's why it's not. Actually, Iran International acknowledged that they were uncovering it as much as stuff in major cities. Because a lot of people started attacking them. Because like we have more death in these areas than in Tehran and Shiraz, but you're not covering it. These are also Iranians, and they came and they acknowledged that they're not covering it as much. I mean, it's not just foreign sources that weren't covering it as much. It was also Iranian sources weren't even covering it as much, which is kind of sad. Mm-hmm. I mean, not kind of sad, very sad.
And it accounts for half of the death toll.
Which is very great that you're covering it. So thank you, Susanna. Thank you.
I try. I think it's really important to talk about. And so there's also been a lot of stuff happening in Iran over the past 24 to 48 hours alone, like crazy amount of stuff. So the nature of the protests in Iran has shifted a little bit, whereas previously you'd kind of see pockets of unrest kind of spontaneously happen across different cities. I mean, across 80 cities across the entire nation, at least, if not more. But they would kind of be like more spontaneous. And smaller, and so it'd be easier for special forces or the government to come and crack down on them. So we've seen a shift. And what I've read reported is that, instead of sporadic demonstrations every day, which is easier to control for the government, weekly protests appear to be more effective, showing the government's inability to suppress protesters when crowds are larger and appear simultaneously in many cities and many locations. So yesterday was one of the first more concerted and organized examples we've seen of that, where people said, okay, on Saturday, we're going out. Doesn't matter what city you're in. We're hitting the streets. And so it was kind of declared, right? And alongside of that, there has also been strikes that have been declared. So across many cities, like the bazaars, the shopkeepers, they went on strike. They closed everything. They joined the street protests. Students, going on strike, joining the street protests. And I have read some reports, Armin, this is very significant, that oil workers in Abadan have started to strike.
That's very significant. That's very significant.
Because it was the strike of the oil workers that partially was a major factor in issuing in the overthrowing of the Shah. Can you talk about that a bit for people who don't know?
Yeah, so the Bazaris and the people who work in the oil industry, they if they join the strikes, right now there is nationwide strikes in Iran, and the Bazaris, which the people who work in the market, haven't been joining. That's significant. The main ones haven't been joining the strikes until yesterday, right? And a lot of people think that's the backbone of the market, and during the Shah's time, them and the people within the oil industry, when they joined the strikes, that was really started targeting the very financial resources of the regime, right? And that, given how historically we have a record of how that started, how that was a major influence in getting the dominoes fall one after another, a lot of people were waiting to see that happen during these protests as well. So people are saying, if history repeats itself, now that we have strikes spreading to the oil industry and now also the Bazari is joining in, people are very excited to see where this goes, because if history is any thing to go by, then this could be also lead to the same conclusion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's also been, so in response to this more organized demonstration, this organized demonstration across the nation, things have gotten very violent. The stuff flowing across my social media is absolutely crazy. There are people who are honking their horns in protest, just getting shot dead in their cars in Kurdistan. Images of women just getting shot in the head in the street in Mashhad. It's very violent. But I've also seen a new level of counter demonstration of protesters getting more organized in using street formations, blocking roads, creating barricades that I haven't seen since my time in Antifa, right? This is a level of organization that I'm familiar with and I can identify. So I'm oh shoot, things are heading in that direction now. So that felt very, very significant to me. And because of how harsh things were yesterday, I expect the death toll to unfortunately rise sharply, because we are just beginning to get some sort of insight into what happened. And things are cracking down really hard right now. So like I've said before, it's so important to keep the pressure on internationally. People ask us all the time, how can we help the people of Iran? Well, really, there isn't that much that most of us can do. But what we can do is very easy, okay? All we have to do is continue to amplify the hashtags that are trending within the movement, keep telling our friends about it, keep telling our family about it, pressure our politicians to respond to it, pressure our mainstream media to cover this appropriately, accurately, because that's been a huge problem that's been happening in American media, is in the New York Times, they posted this big article about how, oh, people are boycotting over economic sanctions, blah, blah, blah. They're protesting for the economy. No, the people in the streets of Iran could not be more clear about what this is about. They're not complaining over cost of living. The slogans are so clear. The hijab is the excuse. Our goal is the Islamic Republic. Death to the dictator. Like, the overwhelming emphasis is for civil liberties and an overthrow of the current government. So we need our mainstream medias to be covering this appropriately to accurately be the voice of the people. We can help amplify that. There was a huge demonstration of Iranian Americans in Los Angeles recently at CNN, basically protesting in front of CNN over their inappropriate coverage of what's happening. And I think the other thing that's important to think about is what we can go speak to our politicians about, because a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about sanctions. And, oh my gosh, should we go and intervene, blah, blah, blah. And the overwhelming message I hear from the Iranian community is, we do not need your help. We do not need you to intervene. Okay. What we do need you to do is stop negotiating, stop complying, stop legitimizing and validating the authority of our murderers. So a lot of people are calling for expelling all diplomats. A lot of people are calling for shutting down embassies. What do you think about that, Armin?
I don't think that will happen, but pushing for it will have an impact. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, closing down, they're not going to close down the embassies, but you trying to push for it will make them reduce their support.
Yeah.
Will have an impact.
That's basically what I think as well. And so what do you think about the call for sanctions, though? Because one thing that I've noticed that is very interesting is that American lefties, because, obviously that's who I'm familiar with, are constantly saying, oh, sanctions are so bad, they hurt the people, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then they take it to the level of, this is American imperialist violence, and listen to Iranians, like, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, bet when I listen to Iranians, people who are from Iran, grew up there, spent most of their adult life there, or people who are still there, they're like, do I support the current sanctions? No, I want them harsher. Like, sanction the fuck out of my country, okay? That's what they tell me. They're like, we grew up there. We've seen that any lenience that is given to the regime, any money that's released back to them, does not go to us. The money goes towards Hezbollah, Hashd-e-Shabi. It goes to the Houthis. Like, it goes to destabilizing the region. The money doesn't go to our well-being. It goes to buying better batons and surveillance from China to oppress us. So if that's going to be the case, sanction the fuck out of them anyways.
Yeah, that's the
because I mean, like, that's my perspective, but I am in contact with a particular vein of people, right?
Yes. So that's the narrative from a lot of anti-regime advocates. Okay. But that's the kind of people that me and you hang out with among Iranians, right? The criticism of what we're saying is that might not be a good representation of what most Iranians think. Right?
Exactly.
So true, but regardless of what most Iranians think, and I know that's like a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? That's the only thing we have to pay
as an Iranian, I can say that.
No. I don't have to be an Iranian to say it. You don't need to be an Iranian to say this, right? In response to human rights violations and other violations of international law, right? The international community and the world liberal order needs to react. And there is only 3 forms of reaction. Unless I'm missing something, let me know. Okay? Reaction number 1, do nothing. Reaction number 2, military intervention. Reaction number 3, sanctions. Okay? Economic pressure. Sanctions or just economic pressure as a whole, just to cover everything, right? Given that doing nothing should not be an option, given that most people agree that military intervention is not an ideal solution, that leaves us with only one option, right? This option has problems. There's no option that is cost-free. I support the sanctions, but unfortunately, a lot of people who support the sanctions deny the fact that innocent Iranians will be suffering from them. I support the sanctions even while I agree that innocent Iranians will suffer from them, right? But everything you do, there's a cost to it. Whatever you do and whatever you don't do, innocent people will suffer because of decisions that are made or because of the decisions that are not made. So the challenge is not to eliminate all suffering, because that's impossible. The challenge is to come up with options that reduces the suffering the most. The sanctions on Iran will unfortunately make a lot of Iranians who are not part of the problem suffer, right? But the alternative will make more people suffer. There needs to be a reaction to countries that are violating standards and norms that has made the world a much, much more peaceful place ever since World War II, right? There needs to be a penalty for violations of these laws. This is why a lot of these leftists, okay, at least the liberal ones, not the far left ones, right, agree with the sanctions on Russia while they're condemning the sanctions on Iran. They agree with the sanctions on Russia even while they agree that innocent Russians will suffer from it. They're like, yes, we know innocent Russians will suffer from it, but Russia, the country of Russia, the Putin's administration has violated international laws, and there needs to be a reaction by the international community. And unfortunately, Russians will suffer, but this is what we must do, okay? Or else we're setting a new standard or a new norm that is okay to do. The same logic will apply to Iran. That's the comparison I make. I might be wrong about this. I'm happy to for you guys to come and challenge me on this, right? We do have a super chat that we need to read.
Yes. So Trells gave us 100 Danish krona. Oh my goodness, thank you.
Thank you.
Saying, fun thought, Iran's 1906 constitution required any new law to, quote, receive royal approval, and since the Shah never signed anything related to the Islamic Republic, the whole damn thing is illegal. There's been a lot of people who have talked about trying to invoke this and basically as a way to dismantle the current government, and then so the monarchy would be back in full effect just merely for the exercise of getting rid of the Islamic Republic. But then a lot of people are like, well, then we're going backwards to monarchy. There's a lot of problems with it.
No, Troll. This is the thing. The old laws don't apply. Okay, that regime fell, so people are like, okay, it's illegal based on that regime. We have a new regime with new laws. Okay, so we don't care about the fact that we are violating the previous regime laws. Okay, but the problem with Khamenei right now is that his supreme leadership violates the current existing laws, the current constitution. So that's the main difference here.
Yeah.
So you could use, basically what this means is that you don't even have to, you could use the country's own rule. If you apply the current existing rules in Iran, if they were applied, you could remove Khamenei from supreme leadership.
Yeah, from the Islamic Republic's constitution.
Yeah.
And Gossam is saying in regards to the Bloody Friday of Zahedan. A doctor in Baluchistan shared on Instagram that so many of them were being shot from the back. They were running, not attacking. Oh my God. Yeah, it's so bleak. So I'm continuing to keep like a really close eye on Zahedan. Herschel is asking, if the dictatorship is overthrown, then will Armin visit Iran? And KP has offered to sponsor his visit.
Okay, I will. Okay, no, but if I was at some point I decided that no, I would never visit, because even if the regime falls, there will still be enough radicals there for me to get stabbed or something, because I burned the Quran and stuff like that, right? But I had changed my mind recently. I was like, no, if the regime falls and if a stable secular democracy comes into power, right, I will go there without announcing my visit. So I don't think anybody will be able to find me. Any people that might be upset with me be able to find me if I just go there without announcing, like just randomly show up. Yeah, I think I will. I would be too tempted to go to not go. So I will go.
Can we go to Isfahan together? And Shiraz?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Hell yeah.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if I want to take you, because if I get killed, I would be like, okay, I made a stupid mistake. But if I get you killed, then I would feel like, what the hell? Like, I don't want to, like, yeah, I would be too worried about getting you killed. So maybe I don't.
We'll see how the dominoes fall.
Yeah.
We'll see how the cards land.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know. I think in terms of everything that's been unfolding over the past 24 to 48 hours in Iran, we're going to get a lot more information coming out about what happened soon. So like definitely stay tuned to this channel. We're going to continue to cover this every week, because the images coming out right now, like it looks like a war zone in a lot of places. So I really want to keep covering this, but we need more details and to emerge first.
Wait, let me show you.
Yes, this is what I was talking about with how they're fortifying barricades.
This is the state of the current protests in Iran. This was yesterday. They're fortifying the streets against the regime.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. And they burn garbage bins and stuff, so that because it helps against the tear gas.
Oh, really? Saying, I was assuming it was for visibility protection.
No, it helps with tear gas. It reduces the effectiveness of tear gases.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is in Tehran.
Oh, the other good news is that Canada finally listed the IRGC as a terrorist organization. I can't believe it wasn't already.
I don't think the IRGC. I think 10,000 IRGC members.
Based on the reporting that came out, or maybe it was, I don't know, the statement they were reading, the government was reading, he said IRGC.
Okay, let's double check that before we confirm.
Okay.
Because I think, by the way, Canadian government, they had legitimate reason to, their reason for not going with it as was because a lot of people in Iran are forced to serve for IRGC.
True. I mean, I know a lot of them.
Yeah. So if they had designated the entirety of IRGC as a terrorist institution, many Iranians would not be able to go to Canada, even though they were just forced to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why. So Canada had a legitimate reason for not going.
They could make an exemption for people that were forcibly conscripted.
Yeah. Well, that's not how it works. That's why they wanted to go through the legal process of figuring out how to do this. It's difficult. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now we have to talk about this. Armin, please tell people what this is. This is awesome. This happened yesterday.
Oh yeah, Kian is also. Look at the timing. Kian in the live chat saying, "Show the news hijacking." That's exactly what I was like. Great timing. All right. So, Messiani Nejad in this caption says, "Breaking: Islamic Republic state-owned TV network hacked during a Khamenei address and the message on the TV said, the blood of our youth is dripping from your fingers. It's not fingers. The translation is actually from your claws. Another message displayed, rise up and join us, right? So this was when Khamenei was speaking on Iran's national TV. The TV station got hacked, and every Iranian, this is important because this is something like, if you come on, like a lot of the stuff that we're saying from the anti-regime people, it's on places where you would have to come look. A lot of Iranians are like not exposed to that. But this was on national TV, and it's because it's during Khamenei's speech. Who would watch Khamenei's speech? There's a lot of people on Khamenei's pro-regime people. So this would, this might show a lot of other people who are like stepping in the sidelines, or maybe even pro-regime, that it shows them that things are really shaky. It has an effect. It's called the broken window effect. Like when you go to a store and you see the window is broken, you think like this. It seems like this store is like going bankrupt soon or stuff. Like, so if you notice things like this, if you see stuff like this in places that they don't seem to belong, a lot of more Iranians will be like, okay, this might be convinced that this regime is on its way out. So this hack has a major impact. But let's watch.
Yeah, like if you go to a neighborhood and there's shattered windows and graffiti everywhere, you're like, seems a little sketchy, seems a little unsafe. I don't know. So you're like, okay, that's a very interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Anyways, let's watch this.
نادر مهدوی که چند بار اسمش رو اینجا آوردید آقایون، کسی از دوستان ما که وارد در این موضوعات میگو اگر این نادر مهدوی
So the hacker group that did this is called Adolat Ali. And you can see the chant in the back is Zan Zindagi Azadi. And then there's a target symbol on Khamenei's head with, like, I don't know what the fire is. Is this hellfire?
I think so.
Is it fire or whatever? Okay. And this text over here says, Bema bepivandid va bepachizid, which means join us and rise up. And over here it says, Khune javanan ma michiked az jang to, which means like the blood of our young is dripping from your claws. You can see the pictures of a couple of the girls that have been killed in the recent protests, including Mahsa Amini right here.
Yeah, it's Mahsa Amini, Hadith Najafi, Nika Shakrami, and Sarina Ismailionzadeh, I think is her name.
Wow. Amazing, Susanna. Like, I don't think anybody non-Iranian, like, I don't know many non-Iranians that is familiar with these names as much as you are. That's pretty incredible. Good job. Good. Yeah. So this is very, and the chant says, keep saying Zan Zindagi Azadi, which means woman, life, freedom. That's the chant in the background. Okay, and this face is now being memed everywhere. Like, I don't know.
For people who are listening, it cuts off and it cuts to a news presenter, and you can tell this is legitimate because in the screen behind him that shows the current feed of the newscast, you can see the hack is still going on in the background.
Yeah.
But the face of the presenter is so...
Oh my god. Yeah, a lot of people were doubting whether this is a real hack, or was it just a web hack, or was it like actually on TV as well. And you can know the reason why you know that this was a real hack is because even in the background you could see the hack was still in effect before it switched. So that was like major.
They just cut to a different feed, so you can see that it's still happening in the feed in the background until they cut it off.
Yeah, but I don't know how they did this. Like, a lot of people were like, "This is an impossible hack." Like, there must be somebody that works there that has managed to pull this off.
I was talking to Babak about this. He had a lot of ideas. So he is 90% sure that this is done, that this hacking group, which is like the English translation is like the justice of Imam Ali or whatever. He thinks that this hacking group is basically controlled opposition. or
No, I don't
that
mean, that's conspiracy theory.
no,
That's
or maybe more realistically, that it is a group within the government that is unhappy with other elements of the regime.
that is more
Because
likely.
especially that's basically what he emphasized, especially to be able to get to something like this. A lot of Iran's most important infrastructure is on an intranet, not the internet. So it can't happen from someone outside. It has to be someone inside. And the other theory is maybe it's Mossad, because Mossad was able to get into the intranet of Iran's most sensitive nuclear plant, and that's how they cause the explosions within the nuclear plants. But to do that, you need to have a human factor. You need to have a human asset, meaning there has to be a person that physically goes in and do these things, gets control of these ports, puts something into a computer that can get within their wiring and do the rest of this. So this basically can only happen if you have a human asset that can go in and physically manipulate some of this stuff. And that's why he was saying, okay, to be able to get this level of clearance to execute this kind of thing, you have to be within the regime to some extent.
Yeah. Okay. I do believe that the more likely situation, it's not controlled opposition. This is too costly of a hack, right? This is too costly. Like a controlled opposition, like, okay, let's turn down the regime to make it look like a controlled opposition. Like that, I think that's too conspiratorial. It is more likely that it is people within the regime, or like there are hackers who have access to some people who are sympathetic to them that work within the regime. That is a more likely. I think that would be a more likely.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what he meant by controlled opposition.
No, controlled opposition is something else. Controlled opposition.
No,
is like
I know, but what he meant
on purpose. Okay, what he meant. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and it's not very. It's that the whole idea of having access to people within the regime is not very conspiratorial, because we've seen Mossad at least effectively do that. Like we have confirmed report of Mossad doing that effectively. So.
Effectively, they seem to do it every Tuesday.
Susie, I'm so glad that you know these things and you have access. Like I don't know how I would do all this without you. It's so good. Anyways, okay. So on a less on a more serious note, let me just show you how. Oh my god, these motherfuckers.
I like this comment from Bara. He's saying, plot twist, the presenter is the mole.
No, but I want to show you something is kind of disgusting. But I just wanted to show you the attitude of these the regime police. Look at the way. Look, she's coming. This is a woman that is coming to talk to these regime officers to just, can you please tone it down, be nice to people, are you not embarrassed, are you not ashamed, and stuff like that. That's what a lot of women just walk up to them and say stuff like that. And this is how these people respond. Look at this. You see how he just hits her? There was another video just like this, if I could find it.
And she's like a small woman. Like, it almost looks like a child.
Well, okay, yeah. But there was another one that was similar to this. There's some videos that I can show you. There was one woman that she was shot in the neck, and she was lying on the ground.
Oh yeah, that was in Mashhad.
Yeah, I can show you that one.
Yeah, we can not show that on YouTube.
Can I show people the one where they overwhelmed the anti-protest? Can I show? Oh yeah, let me show you this one. Okay, so here's another video of how the regime treats like defenseless women, right? That are just brave enough to walk over to talk to the officers, right? Knowing they have seen other videos where what happens to other women when they just try to go talk to them, but they still do it. Look at this. So this is look, they hit. You see how they hit her?
Mm-hmm.
There's like a bunch of men with like a small little woman, and she has no riot gear, nothing, and they're just hitting her.
I saw this video of them, like a huge group of special forces dudes beating the crap out of like a 7-year-old boy. Like
Oh,
it is
yeah.
so visibly a child. It's crazy.
So yeah, a lot of people are just like going in the middle of the night and then writing anti-regime chants on the walls. That has picked up a lot. Yeah. So there's a lot of that happening right now. This one, I don't know if I could. I think I can show this one because it doesn't actually show any hitting or anything. This is just another video of the protesters overwhelming the regime's forces. So these are the regime forces, and look what the protesters do.
Is he yelling Ya Hussein?
Yeah, Ya Hussein. Yeah. You see, like even religious people are on the side of people. Like people, the man is saying Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. The main thing is that the regime officers don't feel safe. It used to be that now they're feeling how a lot of the people feel because people don't feel safe to go protest because there's a lot of things that could happen to them. But now it's also it's making a lot of the people who are supposed to come and attack the people, they are afraid now as well because things could happen to them, right? Yeah.
I've seen a lot of videos of Basijis and special forces people getting very violently assaulted.
Yeah, there's videos I can show.
Yeah.
There's so many videos that I can show. These are the ones that I think I can show.
Oh, you definitely can't.
Yeah, there was one I saw that they were hitting a Basiji. The people were hitting a Basiji. It was I don't know if you want me to send that to you. It was really bad. It was really bloody.
I think I saw that one. Yeah.
You saw that one? Okay.
It's so hard for me to watch because I don't like to see people like getting hurt like that, even though.
And he was like on the ground like this, and he was like, "Order, like stop hitting me!" And they would like hitting him with like a big rod, and he was like bleeding from his head. It was so brutal. It was.
Yeah.
Anyways, I can't show that.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you have to overthrow fascists, but I don't like to see anyone getting beaten to death.
Yeah. I feel bad for feeling good sometimes seeing the regime. I see like a regime officials get overwhelmed, and sometimes I see them getting hurt by the people, and I feel bad for feeling good. I don't know.
I think based on your experience, like that's very valid.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me know
and
if
that's
I'm
a lot better than a lot
evil.
of people I speak to. Like they wish a lot worse.
Yeah, I know. I just don't like turning. I don't want to turn into a monster while fighting monsters, as Nietzsche used to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, okay. Can we clap for the next news?
Wait, this is a good point by Bara. I don't like violence on any side, but they could always, stop murdering civilians.
Yeah, I mean, considering the self-defense as legitimate is one thing, which I'm fully supporting. I fully support the Iranian people's right to defend themselves against violence, and which it could include using violence yourself. Okay, like logically supporting that is easy, but feeling good about seeing it happen to them, that is harder to justify, right? But it's a feeling. I mean, you can't control feelings. I don't know. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that I don't become a hateful person. Yes, Sergo is saying, I don't feel good, but who can really blame the Iranian people for this anger? Yeah, true. It's just, yeah. Okay, can we clap for the next news?
Oh wait. No, I don't think we should clap for the next news at all. Oh, Trells is saying, I started my super chat with a fun thought for a reason, as I anticipated Armin's answer. But if the Artesh were to depose the regime and wants a legal justification, there it is.
Right.
He's referring to his thing about the 1906 Constitution.
Well, I mean, the legal justification could be already that Khamenei doesn't have, it shouldn't be supreme leader based on Iran's own constitution. That could be a justification. Anyways, let's clap. Oh no, we can't.
No, we should not clap.
Okay, never mind. Sorry. Okay, next news.
Next news. Indian Muslim man kills Hindu wife for refusing to wear hijab. On September 26th, a Muslim man, Iqbal Muhammad Sheikh, murdered his wife, Rupali Chandanshile, a 20-year-old Hindu woman, by slitting her throat with a sharp knife and stabbing her hands multiple times for not wearing a burqa as per Islamic traditions and demanding a divorce. According to the reports, the incident happened in the suburban Tilak Nagar area of West Chembur, Mumbai. Iqbal and the victim Rupali had been married for 3 years since 2019 in a conversion marriage ceremony. Rupali reportedly had to face constant pressure from Iqbal and his family to follow Islamic traditions. Rupali never listened to her husband's and in-laws' demands, which led to a never-ending cycle of domestic abuse. Exhausted from the abuse, Rupali decided to leave her marital house to live separately with her child about 6 months ago. After a quarrel over the phone, Iqbal hauled Rupali into a nearby alley where he murdered her and fled the scene. Iqbal was arrested under Section 302, murder of the Indian Penal Code, and was taken into police custody for interrogation. So I wanted to cover this because I think this is one of the stories that is essentially closest to a love jihad situation that I've ever heard of, personally. I think, I don't know, Armin, what's your initial reaction to this news?
I mean, it's tragic, and also Sorgo in the live chat is saying this is going to feed Hindutva like grass and wildfire. Yeah, I mean, let's get to that. Maybe we should discuss that later, because the main thing that we have to address is the crime. Because, I mean, we don't want to always like just jump on like talking about Hindutva, even when the crime is like, I don't know, this is like an Islamic crime. So we don't want to just keep pointing at Hindutva. Yeah, this is, I mean, we do blame Hindutva for many things, but this is mostly about, let's focus on the Islamic aspect of this, right? So what's going to happen to him? Is he going to go to jail for life? What's going to happen?
You know, off the top of my head, I do not know what the maximum sentencing for IPC 302 is. But yeah, I mean, I don't even think like that part of the legal process is even kicked in yet. I have no idea how long he could go to jail for. Bart is saying, yeah, that's my depressing news quote for the day. Cheers, everyone, and keep up the good work, Armin and Susanna. Well, thank you for the nice note, but actually things get a lot better later in the show. So
yeah, guys,
around.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, after this it gets better. Yeah, well, hopefully.
I think it was interesting for me to see, because at first when this was reported, like I wasn't, with a lot of stuff that comes out of India, sometimes it's hard to tell how legitimate it is.
This was her?
Yes, reportedly. And it's really sad. There are lots of reports that their marriage should have been seen as illegitimate anyways, because the age of marriage for women is 18, or at the time. I think now they raised it to 21, but she was 17 years old when they were married anyways. And he is like 16 years older than her or something. And yeah, I think there's a lot of different accounts about, you know, basically he wanted her to dress Islamically.
It's 21. People are saying it's 21.
Mm-hmm. No, that's what I said. At the time, they raised the age of marriage for women to 21 recently, but she's been married to him for several years. At the time, it was 18.
Okay.
because before it was 18 for women and 21 for men, and then they changed it to be the same, so they raised the age for women to be 21. And
something I don't remember is saying she converted anyway, so it's legal for Muslim at 16.
This is what's so confusing about Muslim personal law in India, or just personal law in general, is that there are all these different standards just depending on what your religion is. So reportedly, to get married, she converted, but then after the marriage, she didn't want to wear the hijab, basically. And that was part of the main contentions in their relationship that led to a lot of very terrible and violent situations, until she fled for her life and was like living with a friend and her young child. And then they had an argument on the phone, and they would frequently have arguments on the phone. And then after the most recent argument, he came to her house and then attacked her.
I want to say something that might be unpopular here. This is, as horrible and disgusting Islam is, this is not allowed in Islam. Right? So this is not like you can't just kill your wife because she's not wearing the hijab. Technically, you can't even force her to wear the hijab. There's nothing in Islam that tells you that you could force your wife to wear the hijab.
Okay, but you could say that he is fearing disobedience from his wife, and that is why he's Islamically sanctioned to beat her, because she is disobeying him.
You're right.
And not allowing him to comply with what is his to protect.
You're right. Actually, Susanna, you're very knowledgeable in Islamic jurisprudence. Thank you. Yeah, he can't kill her though.
Yeah,
he can just beat her, and technically, so the beating is allowed, the killing is not allowed in Islamically. Yeah,
in that sense, it probably falls more into an honor culture situation, because then it's after
Islam is still.
She was fighting for a divorce, and that's when this happened.
Islam is still responsible for this crime, even if this is not Islamically allowed, right? This is how it works. Like we are, just because we're saying this is not allowed in Islam, it doesn't mean Islam is not responsible. For example, and I always use this example, in Christianity, child molestation is not allowed in Christianity, okay? But Christianity is responsible for a lot of child molestation. You know, it's not as direct as you think. It's not like, here's the text, here's what people do. It's not a one-on-one correlation. It's the net effect of the impact of certain values that Christianity or Islam have on a society, and the way that they present themselves or manifest is different sometimes from the actual text.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is important to cover because, like, I don't remember who it was in the chat, but someone basically said, like, the right wing and the Hindufa are going to latch on to this as an example of the kind of thing they're talking about. And this is, like, technically kind of different from the real love jihad, like, great replacement conspiracy theory that kind of is behind the broader conspiracies of Muslim demographic engineering and tricking and deceiving women, blah, blah, blah. This doesn't necessarily seem like she was deceived. She, apparently converted to fulfill the marriage requirements and all this stuff. So it's a little bit different than how that narrative typically goes. But I think it's important for more left-leaning, like liberal people like us to talk about these issues honestly, because there will be a lot of left-leaning liberal people who aren't going to talk about this issue honestly. They might say, oh, this was just a one-off incident. Oh, this was just between the two of them. Oh, there's no way that this was influenced by religion, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's important to be a space coming from the left who can, like, accurately be honest about some of the ideologies and beliefs that play into things like this happening, and not try to whitewash and excuse them. Does that make sense?
By the way, Jimmy just shared us on Twitch saying, okay, I shared you. Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy's trying to help us grow a little bit on Twitch. Thank you. Guys, if you're watching our show, please, like, while you're watching, you could just hit the share button and just make our channel grow a little bit. Thank you. It doesn't take much, and it really helps us grow. So please, like, while you're just watching, if you're not doing anything else, just click the like button and the share button, leave a comment or something. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, Sorgu is talking about like all the deflections. Like, I think it's
Yes.
important to be a voice that doesn't use those deflections and just calls it what it is. Yeah, but then not take it to the level of demonizing everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important for us to find what's responsible, what sort of idea is responsible, but also sympathize with the people who are the victims of such ideologies or such norms and customs. But it's hard for some reason, it's hard for people to do that. It's hard for people to blame the ideology, but also sympathize with the people. It's just like, yeah, I don't know why it's so difficult for me. Yeah. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
We're going to clap for the next news because we are going to be exposing some devious Catholic institutional corruption and behavior, okay? That's what we're clapping for, okay? But it sounds bad at first, but we're clapping because we're going to rip these people a new asshole. How about that?
That's great. Let's do it.
I'm not watching my language today. I don't care.
Wow, Susanna is at a new level today. This is great. I like it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Next news.
Catholic churches fight to maintain loophole in child sex abuse reporting. Who is surprised? Absolutely no one. Okay. The Associated Press investigative team recently released their findings after examining more than 130 bills to amend child sex abuse reporting laws in the United States. The AP investigation concluded that, quote, none of them succeeded in closing the clergy loophole. The loophole is the clergy penitent privilege, which exempts clergy and priests in all religious denominations from reporting child sex abuse heard in a confessional setting. In 2020, the Catholic Diocese of Salt Lake City heavily opposed House Bill 90, or HB 90, in Utah. The church gathered 90,000 signed letters from its parishioners and sent them to Representative Angela Romero, the bill's author. Romero, a Democrat and a lifelong Catholic, has been working on HB 90 as part of her campaign against the sexual abuse of children. The bill was eventually axed in March of 2020. The Catholic Church in Utah used its well-funded lobbying infrastructure and coordinated with the Mormon Church and the Jehovah's Witnesses to further bolster their defense against bills like HB 90. In August of 2022, the Associated Press reported that a Mormon bishop in Arizona had allowed the RAPE and abuse of MJ, a 5-year-old girl, by her father. The father continued to sexually abuse the victim for as many as 7 more years into her adolescence. Senator Victoria Steele, a Democrat from Tucson, Arizona, said that the church's power over the legislature makes it difficult to share stories like that of MJ. That particular case is so bad because the bishop who was told by the father what he was doing to his children was specifically advised by a helpline. Like, the Mormon Church had a helpline for cases like this. The bishop called the helpline to be like, how should I handle this situation? And the helpline specifically told him, do not tell police, do not tell civil authorities, do not tell Child Protective Services. We're going to handle this internally. And that father continued to do this to his children for 7 more years. So this is just like one example of how many of these institutions are essentially culpable in a lot of these crimes against minors, and all of these different measures and bills across different states across the United States get continuously and systematically shut down by extremely powerful religious organizations like the Catholic Church, the Mormon Church, and the Jehovah's Witnesses.
But okay, what the hell? How is this not illegal? Like, shouldn't the helpline person behind also go to jail? Should that not be illegal?
Here's the thing. It is specifically not illegal, and they're trying to make it illegal, and this is what keeps on getting shut down. So it varies a little bit by state. So in I believe every state in the country, there are rules about mandated reporting. A teacher is a mandated reporter. A principal, a doctor, a therapist, a psychiatrist, they are mandated reporters, which means that if we find that abuse of minors is happening through what our patient tells us, our client, what we see with a student, we are mandated to report this to Child Protective Services. Okay. In some states, there is no mandated reporting for members of the clergy from any religious denomination, right? So in some states, they do not have any mandated reporting requirement or burden, right? In other states, what happens is that there is mandated reporting for clergy, except in the setting of in the scenario of the confessional setting. So they are mandated to report, but if they hear about abuse in the context of an abuser confessing it in a confessional setting, that is specifically exempted from being illegal. And that's what people are fighting to close. And basically, it is systematically, in coordinated ways, shut
Why
down,
is this?
sometimes before the bills even get introduced.
Who's motivated? Like, why? Like, why are there, like, who's supporting maintaining this current status quo? Is it Republicans? Is it
not always?
Why would it? Well, okay, but what is the motivation? Like, we are like this is a country that I think most people agree that this is nonsense. So what is?
No.
How is this? Okay, who's
so
not agreeing with this?
Here's the justification from the other side. They say that this is a violation of their religious freedom. Okay, we could take 5 days to unpack that, because this is, especially for a Catholic, if people don't know about Catholicism, there are several sacraments within the Catholic faith, and confession is one of these sacraments, and confession is a prerequisite to receiving the Eucharist. Oh, go ahead.
1 second. Do they not understand how this sounds? Like they're...
Yeah.
It sounds like they want to be free. They're making their religious freedom, because they already made religious freedom to be synonymous with the freedom to oppress, freedom to take other people's freedom away. Now, this sounds like what translates to other people is that religious freedom means the freedom to molest children. They are making people are understanding. Mm-hmm. I know that's not what they're saying, but this is what we will hear. It will be translated to us like, oh, really? They're within the context of saying like, oh, this is our religious freedom, and you're like, we are on the side of like, we want to protect children, and like, oh, religious freedom. This would translate to an average individual as like, oh, religious freedom means the freedom for us to continue molesting children. That's how it translates to. Also,
yeah, and in terms of how it reads to the public, like, I completely see what you mean. That's technically not exactly what's happening, because it's not
what I'm saying though.
No, I know, but I want to clarify for other people, right? I understand you, but I want to clarify. What's technically happening is it's not like, oh, this is what people in our clergy are necessarily doing, although it definitely is. It's about saying, okay, if as a priest, for example, someone comes to me in a confessional booth and says that they have done this to a child, in any other profession, you would be legally required to report that to authorities. Any other profession. But this profession is legally privileged on the basis of religion. Specifically because in the Catholic faith, it is a holy sacrament. And a very important one.
But why is the law recognizing the holiness of that?
They also argue that changing this exemption, this privilege, eliminating this privilege isn't proven they would actually help increase reporting. They say their logic, they literally say, Armin, they literally say that, in fact, keeping this privilege helps prevent the abuse, because if the abuser has somewhere where they can go and confess this with assured secrecy, this is one step closer to ending the cycle, so to speak.
It's not up for them to decide. We have a society where laws will be determined based on what works the best. We don't need men in robes using ancient texts that were meant for goat herders 2,000 years ago as a guide to life to tell us what is the best way to reduce molestation of children. They have shown to us repeatedly that whatever they think works best doesn't work. We have the highest levels of child molestations within their environment, so they are not the authority to go to figure out how to avoid stuff like this. Even if they're right, we will use that information based on a scientific method to determine what works, to come up with laws that would implement that information, the data, to reduce the harm. It shouldn't be up to you guys. Okay? The only justification that could exist for you having different standard than literally anywhere else is the recognition of the law and the state of your holiness, which in an apparently secular country shouldn't be happening. Also, one more thing. Fuck any conservatives that keep saying that these liberals are grooming children. You motherfuckers are actually asking for legal protection to groom children. Anyways, go on.
Oof. D is saying, they keep saying we'll handle this from within. And this is something that is consistently seen across organizations, especially ones like the Catholic Church, Mormon Church, and the Jehovah's Witnesses, that all have a supposed claim on being like God's one holy chosen organization, right? They have a vested interest, a conflict of interest in protecting their own image of piety, of purity, over actually protecting the interests of the vulnerable within their community. One of the most egregious examples of this was in Idaho. There was a police officer, a Mormon police officer, that turned himself in for doing bad things to multiple children. He had told 15 people within his Mormon church what he did. Nothing happened until he turned himself in.
Wow.
Because there is no,
it's almost as if like, what do I have to do to get arrested here? Yeah.
It's absurd. And so I think reading this report by the Associated Press made me so angry, because there's so many different ways in which this is operated like a freaking mafia, and they team up with each other. These institutions team up with each other to shoot down these bills, right? And this affects children. Even, I mean, this matters because it affects children, period, right? But then it also affects children within these religious communities. But it also affects all children within the broader community, because a lot of time these predators don't just go after people within their religious institution. They also impact the greater community, as we've seen in instances with the Jehovah's Witnesses, where they would start off with kids within their community because they know the institution will protect them, and then it expands outward to other just children within the neighborhood because they think that they can get away with it based on their previous experience. And what's particularly egregious is, I don't even know how to, and it seems like a freaking crime racket. In Utah, part of the problem is that there are so many Mormon lawmakers. And so the Mormon lawmakers, their representatives in the state Senate, in the state House, in House of Representatives, that it's also self-interest for them. because of how they are seen within their community, or threats of excommunication if they go after things too hard. One of the worst examples of this was in Maryland. There was this one bishop, I forget, I think his name was like McCarrick or McPatrick or something. He led the charge against shooting down one of these bills that would help close these loopholes and make mandatory reporting like really solid. He was later defrocked by the Catholic Church for committing these crimes himself. The bill still can't go through.
Wow. This is insane.
Obscene. And so I think I'm trying to think about like what people who are outraged by this kind of thing can do. Basically, we need to be able to keep a closer watch on when things like this are going on in our community. When are there bills that are being proposed that could handle these problems? Because what the church does is it organizes its community tightly. There was one church where they had pre-typed out letters for their congregation, and they would
translate
when people Sorgo is asking, what does defrocked mean? Defrocked means the frock is, the robes of the priest. They've stripped him of being a priest. They've disrobed him, so to speak. He got kicked out. They would pre-print these letters, tell their clergy that their most godly sacrament is being attacked, that one of the inherent qualities of being a Catholic is being attacked, and then have them sign these letters as they leave the church with pre-stamped envelopes. So they're organized. They organize their community tightly. This influences politicians. So their lobbying is on a whole different level. So basically, if there's bills coming forward in your state, in your community that help address these problems, we need the community to counter the power of these institutions by getting as organized ourselves. It's like the only shot. Because the politicians need to see how much stronger the desire and will for closing these loopholes is over the outrage over those that want to maintain religious privilege.
Yeah, this is why we need to get organized.
Dia saying this shows how much religion is involved in U.S. politics. It's gross. Yeah, it's abhorrent.
Yeah. Anyways, we do need to move on.
I thought that was like a really important thing to cover, though, because it's just like, how much can you continue to show your true face and your priorities, and yet you are still so powerful?
Right.
It's absurd.
Okay, can we? Oh no, we cannot. We promised that the news is going to pick up and it could be better from here.
Okay, the news does get better after this one.
Okay, this is God. This is the worst. One of the worst ones yet. Okay, after the Bara, this is he's still here. We kind of told him that things are going to get. Okay, Bara. After this one, things are going to get better. We're sorry. Okay. God damn it! I can't. This is not even. Okay. All right. Next news.
35 killed in suicide bomb attack on school in Kabul, Afghanistan. On September 30th, at least 35 people were killed and more than 80 wounded at the Kaj Education Center in Kabul, Afghanistan by a suicide bomber. The Kaj Education Center is located in a largely Hazara Shia neighborhood. According to a local journalist, Bilal Sawari, the number of dead is approximately 100. The Hazaras have been persecuted for centuries in Afghanistan, and the Taliban targeted them heavily during their formal rule in the 1990s. On the day of the attack, the students aged between 18 and 25 arrived early for a practice exam. According to Shafi Akbari, quote, "First we heard gunshots at the main gate. Everyone was worried and tried to run in different directions. Soon after that, a huge explosion occurred inside the center." Although Zabiullah Mujahid, a Taliban spokesperson, condemned the attack, the Taliban did not show sympathy the day after the attack when they beat and shot at demonstrators protesting against the violence against the Hazara Shias. As of now, no group has claimed responsibility, but the involvement of ISIS Khorasan is likely. And the Interior Ministry spokesman Abdul Nafi Thakur said the police had arrested a suspect. The hashtag Stop Hazara Genocide has been used over 6 million times as the global community calls attention to the ongoing targeted killings. So I thought, I mean, this is really important to cover for lots of reasons, but the call for the genocide against the Hazaras is something that has been ongoing and increasing. And after this attack in particular, it's getting a lot more attention, the persecution that the Hazaras face. And so I really wanted to make sure that we cover that as well. Armin, how would you explain kind of the Hazara situation for people that don't know the history?
So Hazaras are in Afghanistan, they're Shia community, and for ISIS-K, ISIS Khorasan in Afghanistan will see them as a perfect target for questioning the legitimacy of Taliban, right? So if you consider the difference between the Taliban and ISIS in Afghanistan, the Taliban is considered very un-Islamic according to ISIS. Right? First of all, for many reasons, but most importantly because of their now not anti-Shia position. Right? So when it comes to hardline Sunni Islam, especially from the Wahhabis and anything that is influenced by maybe anything Ibn Taymiyyah related, remotely Ibn Taymiyyah connected, right? Ideology. And Shias and any other sects of Islam that are not the Sunni Islam are not just non-Muslim. They're the most, how do I say this without making YouTube think that I'm saying it? Anyways, they're basically the purest evil that you could find, right? Because they are not only just non-Muslim, they are taking Islam and they are changing it and also associating partners with Allah while doing so in the name of Islam. So they're taking the biggest sin in Islam and making it seem like doing that sin is Islam itself. Like there's nothing more vile in the eyes of these people, right? So for the Taliban, who is now in power, to go from doing terrorist attacks on these kind of people, which are Shias, to now actually defending them, because the Taliban requires stability in Afghanistan, right? So they can't just do terrorist attacks anymore. So in the eyes of a lot of these ISIS members, Taliban has lost any legitimacy to claim that they're even Muslim, right? They consider they were branded as ex-Muslim or murtads by ISIS members, right? And Taliban lost members. There were Talibani members who left Taliban and joined ISIS-K because of a lot of these disagreements. And it's not just this; it's a multiple of things. For example, having an agreement with the United States, or even negotiating with them, or sitting at the same table with them. That is a very vile thing, according to ISIS-K, for the Taliban to do, right? The ideology itself is fundamentally different. Taliban is focused on a country, which is Afghanistan and Pakistan. Like these are countries that they recognize as existing, and Taliban Afghanistan considers itself to be the leader of Afghanistan. ISIS-K considers the recognition of countries itself to be shirk, right? A sin, right? So ISIS-K doesn't even recognize borders, right? It only recognizes
what?
Oh yeah.
Wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Taliban Afghanistan believes in Afghanistan, and this is our country, okay? And ISIS is like, you believe in countries now? Going a little bit shirky, aren't we?
I used to be a border abolitionist. I know a lot of them, okay? But that is a level of border abolition that I have never encountered. What?
Yeah, no. No, they don't recognize borders and countries, right? Or nationhood.
Because it's shark?
Yeah, it's shirk, and also the concept of a nation. They're correct about the fact that the concept of a nation state is a Western idea, right? So
Yeah.
anybody who believes in Afghanistan as a country, that means they believe in the concept of a nation state, which is a European concept that came out of Western Europe in the Age of Enlightenment. So they're like, okay, good job. Like, oh, if you say like, oh, my life for Afghanistan, they're like, oh, you're saying my life for this Western concept. Like I will fight for Afghanistan. Like ISIS-K, like you would fight for Afghanistan, so you would fight for a nation, so you would fight for this Western ideal. That's what their understanding is, right? Right? They are only you're
PK
only
is
supposed.
saying that ISIS are globalists.
They are no. Islam is globalist. I mean, technically.
Yeah, no, but it's a funny way of thinking about it in comparison to how it's normally talked about.
No, yeah, ISIS is globalist, but their version of globalism is everything, the entire globe will be under Islamic law. That is globalism. Well, it's not it's not just us liberals who are globalists, okay? The Islamists are also globalists, but they want a different kind of order to this globe. Yeah. Okay, so so by attacking these Shias, even Shia children apparently, right? They are signaling to people who believe in them that they have not lost their way, that they are standing for what's right, and they're attacking what they're supposed to attack. They're reminding people that, look, Taliban is not willing to do what is Islamically proper. If you want real Islam, join. You see this as a terrorist attack. They see this as a marketing campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so according to the first initial reporting from this attack, there were 35 people killed. I saw other reporting from the Associated Press that say they confirmed about 52 actually, and a person on the ground said it was more like 100. So there's a lot of variation in exactly what the death toll was. And it's important to talk about how this happened at a school. This happened at a school for people sitting for exams. And the explosion originated in the girls section of the school. So not only is this, against the Hazara Shias in general, but it is also an attack on education and girls' education in particular. And I think, oh my gosh, my brain just completely forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry, give me a second. Oh, shoot. Oh, yes, I remember. Okay, so after this attack, this main one that we're covering, there was a new attack 3 days ago. And this is significant because it was the attack happened at a mosque inside the Taliban's own interior ministry.
Wow.
So there were 4 people that were killed and several others that were injured. And it actually happened inside of the ministry that is responsible for the security and law enforcement of the country. So again, this is emphasizing the inability, the complete and utter inability for the Taliban to institute any semblance of security and law enforcement.
Yeah, this is also challenging their ability. Taliban is finding it very difficult. So this is like, a lot of people are like, oh, look, Taliban defeated the United States. Okay, well, it's not that easy to maintain stability. Okay, Taliban acted like they were so powerful to manage to get to stop United States from maintaining stability in the U.S. Okay, but now that they have picked up that role, they're realizing that it's causing chaos is a lot easier than maintaining stability. Okay, because ISIS-K is a lot smaller than Taliban. Okay, but ISIS-K is effectively challenging Taliban in being able to maintain stability. So Taliban, you're not more powerful than United States. You just have a lot. When you were in charge of causing chaos, you just had a lot easier task. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, you're seeing that a group much smaller than you is basically doing to you what you were doing to the United States, and you're incapable of maintaining stability in Afghanistan, right? This is interesting because now everyone is saying like Afghanistan is the graveyard of empires, right? And so now maybe Taliban is now also discovering this now that they're supposed to. Taliban is good at fighting; they're not good at maintaining or managing or governing or anything else other than like going boom boom, right? So now that a lot of them actually now miss. A lot of Taliban members are like they don't like this role right now. They're like some of them are wishing that they could go back to war because they were more comfortable just fighting. Some of them were nervous because they thought that they're not going to become murderers. Like there's some of their commanders were saying like trying to calm them down by saying like don't worry, there will be more wars and you get to die if you like, don't worry, you will there are more opportunities for you to become murderers. Is this picture the place that was bombed?
I believe
is this the crowd? This is the crowd that was bombed. Jesus Christ, that's a bad place. Oh my god. Maybe we shouldn't have crowds in Afghanistan. Maybe like especially if you're a Hazari, maybe you don't have mass crowds. I mean, this is actually their classroom, so they don't have any choice.
I think. I mean, but
these are the
what
students?
are you supposed to do? They have to congregate neighborhoods, in certain neighborhoods, because they have to self-segregate basically because they're so persecuted. And do you remember 2 years ago, ISIS-K stormed a maternity hospital and started shooting up Hazara Shia babies and mothers?
Yeah, that was.
So this isn't anything new, and I don't know. I think this situation, it made me think about how, in terms of what's happening in Iran, the power of the Iranian diaspora is a large factor in why we're seeing success around the uprising in Iran getting attention, because the diaspora has been in other countries for many decades, long enough to, one, get into roles of media, celebrity, more high profile situations. They're also large enough and active enough within their local communities to be able to organize and start calling on, foreign media, local politicians to get attention on this issue. And so I don't know if the larger Afghan and specifically Hazara diaspora is large enough to garner that kind of organized response to get it to a level that will actually see something happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? This has gotten a very large response. Like the Stop Hazara Genocide got like 6 million. That hashtag got like 6 million, posts or whatever. So we are seeing it more than before.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for covering this, Susanna, so that we could help a bit with that. By the way, this is oxymoron. So this was a school of girls, right? So oxymoron. Yeah.
Oxymoron is asking, is the Taliban still letting girls study? No, but there are private schools that are still in operation. So this was one of the situations where it was a private school that was still somehow operating that got attacked.
There's also secret schools. Did you know that? Underground schools. Like you show like, how it's like, it looks like a drug deal. Like girls like hide their books. They act like they're going shopping, and then they go and they're like, there's a teacher in the basement, and they're like learning lessons. Like it's crazy. It's crazy where you're like getting educated illegally. God damn it.
Like, that is crazy. Ideas Beyond Borders is doing a lot of amazing work to help fund the basically underground railroad of women's education in Afghanistan. So go check out their work. Giving a lot of materials and Dari. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Is this video watchable? What is this? Can we watch this, or is this like no?
I don't remember, so it's probably better not to.
Not to, because it could
just in case.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Can we clap for the next news? You promised us, Susie.
The next news is like totally chill in comparison. Okay, we
Okay.
can clap.
Okay. Thank you, Susie. Next news.
Next news. 1 in 3 Southeast Asian Muslims are more religious than their parents. According to a recent report, 1 in 3 Southeast Asian Muslims consider themselves to be more religious than their parents, especially than their parents were at their age. In the quote, new Muslim consumer report was released on September 21st by the marketing research and advertising company Wunderman Thompson Intelligence. The report explores how religious observance affects consumer market trends and is based on a survey of 1,000 Indonesians and Malaysians. Among the findings, only 21% of respondents say that they are less religiously observant than their parents, while 45% say that they are equally observant. This means that a third consider them to be more religiously focused than their parents. The report says, quote, the idea of halal has gone from mostly about food, namely avoiding pork and alcohol, to include travel, fashion, banking, education, and more. Asia Pacific Director for Wunderman, Chen Mei Yi, said, quote, Muslim consumers are increasingly overlaying their religious beliefs on purchase decisions. He further added, new technologies bring new questions. For example, is the metaverse halal? The report mentions Sharia-compliant banking apps, hijabi-only hair salons, and halal restaurants are becoming more popular. The founder of Kuala Lumpur's Imam Research says, it's good to have halal processes, but do you have to tag it on everything? We are becoming overly cautious. I blame politics.
Okay.
So what?
First of all, Silva, who's saying, "How is that good news?" We didn't say this is good news, but have you seen our bad news? This is relatively chill. Okay,
this is like super chill in comparison to talking about like 3 different massacres today. Okay.
Yeah, this is not good news, but like based on our standards, this is like we could like breathe a little bit more easily with this one. Yeah, this is bad news. We recognize it. A lot of people in the live chat were like pointing out. Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually going to contest this a little bit because people are saying, oh, this is bad news, okay? Really, what they were looking at in this report is consumer decisions. And they measured this by the respondents' own assertion of, one, how religious their parents were, and particularly how religious their parents were at their age, at their current age. So that is like 2 levels of someone reflecting or speculating on a judgment or something. So it's actually not the most accurate way to capture and quantify, operationalize like that question. So how internally valid is this measure? I have major questions. Okay.
Still,
so I'm not
concerned about.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about this because this is more about consumer decisions than anything else. So I'm looking at this kind of in a different way.
But they're describing themselves as more religious in general.
But it's based off of their judgment of, 1, their parents' own religiosity, and 2, their parents' religiosity at their own current age. Those are 2 big assumptions that aren't actually being quantified very systematically. That's what I'm saying. And I just want to talk about a part of this report specifically looks at questions about the metaverse. And there are a lot of people who are like, if it was halal, I would be interested. But the majority of them thought, I don't think this is halal. I don't think I can engage. So my question to you, Armin, is I need you to put on your Islamic scholar hat and tell us, do you think that the metaverse is halal?
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
Because they were thinking no.
Depends on what you do with it. Depends on what you do with it. Like, if you are you having orgies in the metaverse? Then no. Okay. Are you having Quranic lessons in the metaverse? Then yeah. Then it's halal, right? Are you having orgies? Are you having orgies? Are you having orgies in your Quranic lessons in the metaverse? Then I'm confused.
Oh my gosh. What do you think of maybe they would say that it's haram because it's like a construction and it's a construction of reality that is outside of the creation of God.
There's nothing. Okay, show me the hadith. Show me the hadith. Show me the Quranic verse that makes this wrong. You can't challenge it. Okay, you can't. Okay, so don't make stuff up. Don't make stuff up.
I mean, if there are people who are such hardcore Salafis, they don't even let their children draw because that is a creation that is not of Allah.
I'm talking.
Then there gotta be people who think the same thing about the metaverse.
I'm not going Salafi on you, okay? If I go Salafi on you, I don't know what. Like, I have to list the things that are halal, right, and the list of things that are haram, right? So, no, yeah. So I'm just doing mainstream Islam, okay? I'm not going full, Salafi on you. But yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a tool Islamically. If I was a mullah or mushtah or whatever, it's a tool. So the halal, or by the way, for people who don't know, halal means allowed Islamically. Okay, haram means not allowed Islamically. The halal or haram would depend on how you use it. It would be like asking, is YouTube halal? Okay, or is TV halal? Or is radio halal? Or are books halal? Or like, I don't know. The Quran is a book that's halal, obviously. Okay, Salman Rushdie's book, that's not halal. That's haram. Depends on it's not, you can't make a judgment on the vehicle or on the tool. It depends on what the tool is being used for, right? Okay, let me see. Susie is gone. Let me just see what I could read in there. If making metaverses becomes easy, okay, I would like to have an orgy inside the Kaaba. Can I read it? I will do that. I want to be the first person that arranges an orgy inside of the Kaaba. You know I will do it, right? We will make a metaverse version of the Kaaba, and we have orgies in it.
Cosmic Heathen is saying, count me in. Oh my God.
Guys, raise your hand in the live chat if you will, or in the comment section, if you will come to my orgy at the Kaaba. If there is a way. Yes? Okay, good. I will join. People are saying yes. Okay, cool.
Oh my
Susie,
God.
Yay or nay to orgy in Kaaba?
I can't give a blanket yes or no. I have to know who's involved, okay?
No, guys, everybody will have their own gathering. You don't have to be in. If you look at the gathering and you see like, okay, no, thank you. You could go make your own. Like there will be some people. It's not going to be one orgy. It will be like multiple different groups, different places, and everybody gets to choose the people who will be in their gathering. So,
oh my God.
It will be around the Kaaba, okay, but a selected few would be inside the box, inside the Kaaba.
So funny. Barr saying, "I will be there early."
Good.
Beep Boop is like, "I am shy. I can support though." Oh my God.
That's good.
What do you think? Okay, so like I have my own contentions about like how valid of a way in terms of this report, like the internal validity of this measure. I have contentions, right? But let's just say that it is a good measurement, a good assertion of this question. What do you think about if Southeast Asian Muslims are actually becoming more religious?
Then we are failing them. I do think that the whole online atheist activist scene has been very disconnected from Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Right? And then we need to make a bridge. Especially in Indonesia. We're disconnected from Indonesia. And it's a lot because of the language barrier there, right? So we have Atheist Republic has done a good job in connecting to Malaysia a little bit, right? But with that connection has been, challenged by the government there, right? So we can't be as active as we were before, hopefully one day this seems like it's going to get even more dangerous in the future. I don't know, right? Indonesia is like I wish we could do a better job with Indonesia, because there's a major disconnect between us and Indonesia, right? Africa, we have been doing a good job. Middle East, obviously, we have done a good job. India, we have done a good job. Europe, we have done a good job. South
Parts
America,
of South Asia.
South Asia, we did a good job. Bangladesh, we did a good job. Pakistan, we did a good job. But Indonesia, Malaysia, we did a good job until the government came hunting us down there. We were mentioned in the goddamn parliament, and we were like, it was all over the news. We had to tone it down a little bit just for the safety of our members in Malaysia. Indonesia, like, we need to do a lot more work eventually in Indonesia at some point.
Yeah, we need to.
Qasim is looking. Oh my God! Should I highlight? Qasim is actually happy about this, the way things are turning out. Qasim is saying, "I love Asian girls, and hijabi is my favorite category." Woohoo! So it's a great combination from hijabi and Asian at the same time. He's moving to Malaysia.
Oh my God! I can't take any of y'all seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, I really want to, like, my dream is that we have, what language do they speak in Indonesia? I think it's Havanese. I think that's how you pronounce
Malay. Huh?
No, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, they speak Malay. In Indonesia,
no, it's close. It's close.
It's spelled with a J, like Java, Javanese, or something. Anyways, I want to provide content in that language. I want to have our own channel for Atheist Republic Indonesia, Atheist Republic Malaysia. Like, I would love to have channels in those languages.
See, I was right. Okay, Indonesian or Bahasa is the official and national language of Indonesia. It is a standardized variety of Malay. I knew I was onto something.
Then what was I thinking of?
No, you were right. You said something with the B, which is
Javanese. So I was right too.
Oh, okay.
Indonesian is spoken by 94% of the population, but is the primary language of only 20% of the population. Javanese, or Jawa, is the most common primary language.
Javanese, okay, most Indonesian.
Because it's highly regional, especially across the islands.
So the national. Oh my God, it's kind of like the Philippines. So the national language is different from what most people speak. Why did you make the national language a different language than what most people speak?
Probably
is it
based on what area had the most power at the time? Amazing. Okay, most commonly spoken languages is Indonesian, Malay, followed by Javanese.
Okay, so the question is that what most people speak and what's the official language. So what most of the what the official language is Bahasa, which is a variety of Malay, but what most people speak is Javanese. Okay. So like in the Philippines, for example, the official language is Tagalog, but most people, I think, speak Bisaya.
Interesting. Anyway, so we need to be providing content in that language.
The coders in our language are like, did I hear Java?
No, I mean, it is actually, that's what it comes from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like, that's an actual place. Java is a place. Anyways, I think we should move to the next segment. I'm not going to lie. It goes back to being not good.
Not good, but nobody died, right? Nobody died, right?
Nope. It's like that meme, no one died, right?
Right? Nobody died, right?
No one died, right?
All right, okay. Let's move through this. And then after that is let me just... Oh my God, what the your promises have been false, Susanna.
Okay, it gets better after these two stories, okay?
Okay, good. All right. I don't know what to believe anymore. All right, next news. Here,
sorry, I have to collect myself because you just made me laugh. Okay, next news. hopeless situation. Attacks on Christians in Nigeria explode in frequency. On September 17th, a pastor and dozens from his congregation were kidnapped from a Christian church in northwest Nigeria. 57 Christians were kidnapped at another church in a north central state less than a week before. There had been a significant increase in attacks and abductions on both Christian church members and their clergy in Nigeria. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, or ACLED for short, 45 attacks have been carried out in the first 6 months of 2022 alone. Last June, at least 50 died when assailants opened fire and detonated explosives. From January 2020 to July of 2022, there have been 99 separate incidents in which priests were kidnapped or murdered. Malik Samuel, a researcher at the Institute of Security Study, explains, when you kidnap or kill a Christian priest, you get local as well as international attention, and that brings legitimacy to your ransom demand. The Christian NGO Open Doors reported that 4,650 Christians were killed in Nigeria in 2021. Abdebalo Oladeji, a spokesperson from the Christian Association of Nigeria, said, it is becoming a hopeless situation. So I really wanted to talk about this because, one, we've been trying to put more focus on Africa in general, and a lot of stuff has been happening in Nigeria, and we've been continuing to cover that. So I wanted to talk about this as well. And I didn't realize how bad the scope of the problem was, honestly. So, like I said, in the past 3 years, there have been almost 100 attacks and targeted kidnappings alone, which is a huge explosion over what we've seen in the past several decades. And based on what I was reading, and I think this is important to highlight, it's not entirely a jihadist problem. Part of it is definitely a jihadist problem. So we see that from Boko Haram. We see that from the Islamic State in West Africa province, so ISIS in Africa. And we also see a problem of this coming from the Fulani herdsmen, who are a predominantly Muslim ethnic group who have a series of contentions with Christian landowners. And so that exacerbates this problem. But a large portion of this comes from basically just the kidnapping industry of Nigeria. You know, the most famous example would be all the schoolgirls that were kidnapped, Bring Back Our Girls, that campaign. And what the people who engage in this practice or this kind of economy basically have discovered is that Christians are more likely to, one, get attention internationally when they're targeted. And so this brings them legitimacy as a group that engages in this kind of thing. And two, they're more likely to actually shell out the money. Because if you go after a Catholic priest, it's more likely that the Catholic Church will actually pay up, essentially. And so it's not necessarily always about Christian versus Muslims from an ideological angle. It's more kind of like taking advantage of international Christian institutional support. But the problem is that the result is that it is becoming a Christian Muslim issue. I mean, like I said, there are parts that are 100% jihadist incentivized and done and executed, right? 100. There's some that are 100% just straight up that. But then as this becomes such a consistent and terrible pattern throughout Nigeria, even the regions that are supposed to be really, really safe, like in the south, the broader nation, the broader communities are seeing this as a Christian versus Muslim thing. Armin, what are your reactions?
This is why you don't negotiate with terrorists, right? And you're telling me that Catholic Church and other religious institutions Christian institutions haven't recognized that. Do you think that they haven't recognized this on purpose because it's just good for just raising money and acting like you're doing something and fundraising and acting like you're useful while you're actually might be responsible for why more Christians are dying?
That is
Because
extremely cynical. I didn't even think about it from that angle.
Yeah.
I hope not. Okay, but let me be clear. The Catholic Church, from what I have read, especially in some of these most recent kidnapping and attacks of priests and pastors, they never actually admit or make a statement that they paid up anything. They never claimed to do any of that. But we know that it happens. So I don't know if they go around fundraising for someone's ransom, right? Because this seems to all happen behind like closed doors. They do, DSA and the Vatican does report on this. Like they do obviously talk about the persecution that their members are facing.
I mean, they love it.
To my knowledge, they don't go out and fundraise for a ransom.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
Guys, don't pay terrorists. We will create more victims. I don't know. This is, everybody knows this. Why do people don't understand that this is like, you're not helping people. You're helping those people specifically at that time, but you're creating more victims.
I mean, the lives of people's families are at risk, and they do shoot people in.
There will be more people at risk. By paying them, are putting more people at risk.
I understand, but can you expect an average person to make that utilitarian calculation and follow through on it when it's someone in their life?
No, I'm asking institutions. I'm not asking average individuals. I understand that. I would pay. Okay? In fact, if somebody kidnapped you, I would pay. Okay? If I could. Okay? I would do a fundraiser. Okay? But I'm not an institution. I'm not an institution. I'm an individual. I'm asking institutions. Institutions are not have higher degrees of separation from the victims involved, and that's why we expect more from them than individuals. Okay, unless they're religious institutions, then we don't expect anything from them other than evil. Okay, and this is like, so yeah, approach should live it. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah, I mean, good job. Religious institutions, you're putting more Christians at risk by paying up. You are partly responsible for the deaths by paying terrorists.
But I mean, I don't know. At the same time, like, what?
No, people will pay for your release. Look at this. People in the live chat saying, like, oh, they're crying. They say, I would pay too. Oh, they would pay for your release, Susie.
Oh my God. I think I don't know. Even as an institution,
Oxymoron would pay too.
Okay, don't worry, guys. I'm fine. I also wanted to talk about this because when we've been covering some of these attacks against Christians in Nigeria recently, Armin, I know sometimes when we talk about them, especially that giant massacre that happened a few months ago, we're asking these questions like, what the hell is going on in Nigeria? Like, what is leading to some of this? What, having that perspective of there has to be something more to this than just people going and shooting up 55 people, right? And so this gave me a lot of perspective on some of the broader things that are going on, where it's actually has more to do with security issues and the kidnapping industry, the economics of kidnapping, and how much money there is to make in that industry, and it feeds into this so much. It's not purely just a religious ideological thing, as much as some people in our audience.
No, it's often not. Okay, here's the thing: it's often mix of religion and something else. Okay, there's like, it seems like a lot of people want to be on an extreme on when it comes to their position on this. Okay. The people who say this has nothing to do with Islam or this has nothing to do with religion, it's about, I don't know, money, greed, politics, power, land dispute. everything but religion, they are often wrong. Usually when the religion is also somewhat responsible or very irresponsible, okay? But also our side, there are a lot of people on our side that are also wrong. And they say like, oh, it's just religion. It's all religion. And, the main, if you had no religion, none of this would happen. Okay, no, religion is fueling it. Religion is mobilizing it, is recruiting people for it, is motivating people to do it, is justifying it. People coming up with justification for it, is coming up with legal protections for it in some places, but it's not the sole reason why it's happening. Usually it's multifactorial. Just like many things in life, life is complicated. There are often one thing that is the reason for what something else is happening. Most events in life is multifactorial, but our minds likes simplicity. So we like to reduce multifactorial thing into single factorial thing because it will make us feel like we understand things because it's easier for us to explain things. Okay, but life is more complicated than that. Anyways,
exactly. The super chat was making me laugh in the middle of you talking. Sina gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Sina. And Sina says, this is for Susanna's ransom fund. Disclaimer, do not use it for Armin.
Hey. Okay. Thank you. Thank
Hilarious.
You,
It's like, right. Armin's like, I appreciate it because you were saving the life of Susie, but I will ignore the dig at me. And I thought this comment from Bara is worth reading. Bara is saying, my country is basically occupied by a very fragmented criminal organization. It's crimes that are at the root of most of the bad news that comes out of Nigeria. Yeah, it's so complex, the levels of corruption and stuff that goes on there. Sorgu is like, LOL, we should pay for Armin too.
Oh, thank you.
Shriyash saying, Armin doesn't go to the gym for no reason.
That's right. I don't even need your money. I will make my way out. They can't hold me. They cannot. That would be the end of them. In fact, I got myself. In fact, that was my solution tonight. I got myself in trouble just to save Nigeria. That's what. That was too much. I quickly dialed it back as soon as.
Absolute madman. No man is saying I would not pay for Armin. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah. All right. Wait, what? D is saying I will time out anyone who.
As the mod, D is like, I will crack down on consequences on those who do not pay for Armin.
Whoa, let's read this. This is amazing.
Whoa. Something I don't remember is saying I have done shopping worth $8,000 this month through Amazon just for Susie. God damn. For those who don't know, if you add Atheist Republic as the charity that you support on Amazon Smile, a percentage of what you spend goes to Atheist Republic and the work that we do here. So you can support Atheist Republic while you do your shopping at no expense to you. And something I don't remember is saying that they have supported Atheist Republics through Amazon Smile. Thank you so much.
Yeah, guys. So basically, you're paying us money without actually spending any money. That's why, you're donating to Atheist Republic by just doing your regular shopping. If you do that, is the link for that in the description on how to do that?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, guys, check that out.
This is hilarious. Something I don't remember saying. I also would not pay for Armin.
It's too late. We will use your Amazon shopping donations for my release.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Oh, Ayan is going to do it as well. Thank you, Ayan.
Nice. Yeah, if you want to figure out how to support us via Amazon Smile, we made a whole segment about it a few weeks ago, so you can find that segment on our channel.
Just link in the description. You should be able, if you can open a Facebook account or a YouTube account or a Gmail account, you have enough skill set to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I just meant for people who want to actually see instructions, because we went through the instructions. But
Yeah.
most people could figure it out without that.
Yeah. All right. Can we? No. No.
No.
No. We have very. Okay. I will
This
tell
is
you
the last sad news.
Last sad news. Promise? You lied to us before, Susie.
I said that it got better, and it got better for one story, and then it went back downhill. Okay.
Okay. All right.
This is
All
the
right.
last news.
All right. God damn it. This is really bad. Next news.
Next news. Untouchable teen dies after beating from teacher over wrong answer. And just disclaimer, we use the term untouchable only for the identification of more people outside of India. We recognize that Dalit is the more appropriate term. Just a lot of people outside of India, I don't know that term. On September 7th, a 15-year-old Dalit boy, Nikhil Dohre, was severely beaten by an upper caste teacher, Ashwini Singh, for making a mistake on an exam in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Some reports say that the teacher used a stick or a rod to beat the young boy. Others report that he was kicked until he fell unconscious. After the incident, Dohre received medical treatment, but his health deteriorated, and he was taken to the hospital for intensive care. The following day, the formal declaration of death was determined. According to the police complaint filed by the father of the deceased, Ashwini initially promised to pay the expenses for the boy's medical treatment. However, after giving 40,000 rupees to the father, then he stopped taking his calls. And it's also reported that at this time he started using casteist slurs against the father. After the news of Nikhil's death spread, violent protests erupted. The protesters set 2 police vehicles on fire and damaged several private cars. Protesters also allegedly threw stones at police for not being able to catch the accused, who fled. On September 29th, after a week-long search, the police arrested the accused teacher. Yeah. So this is obviously just like a horrific crime. There's a lot of the story that isn't entirely clear in English-speaking media yet. The reports are that the teacher who did this is an upper caste Hindu who, or just actually maybe not Hindu necessarily, because I haven't read Hindu, just that he is an upper caste individual, because it is across religions. Anyways, that either beat him for a wrong answer or just misspelling a word, essentially.
How would you beat somebody enough for them to die? Like, how could you, like, what are you doing? I mean, any beating is bad, but like, how on earth, like, what are you doing that leads to that?
Yeah. I know that, like, corporal punishment is basically, like, very common in a lot of Indian schools, but, like, this level is pretty shocking to a lot of people. And I thought this was important to highlight because we covered the story of another young boy who was about 9 years old, who we covered that story about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And this is very similar to that. And this is giving rise to a larger awareness of caste-based violence in India. Because, I mean, like, people are already aware of it. There are a lot of people that deny it. But empirically, the records from the government itself showed that between 2019 and 2020, there was an almost 10% increase in violence and attacks on Dalits within the span of 1 year. So this is a huge problem, and this is something that's increasing, but it is seemingly getting more media attention than it used to. Like, I have a lot of friends in India, and for a lot of crimes that happen in assaults against Dalits, they say, like, honestly, a lot of them don't even get covered because it's normalized to a certain extent. But because of the death of that boy about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and then incidents like this, it's starting to become more of a wake-up call. about how endemic the problem is.
Yeah, I'm glad people came out to protest. I mean, can I play the videos for the protest? Is this the video of the protest?
Yeah.
Who are doing these who are doing the protest? Dalits or anybody? Just, do we know?
That's not entirely clear. Just people who are outraged.
So this is not the actual protest. This seemed like the aftermath of the protest.
Yeah, or like a riot. Personally, I think if you start setting things on fire, at that point, it's a riot.
This is the teacher who beat up. What is this SC for?
SC stands for scheduled caste.
Oh, scheduled caste boy to death is in Uttar Pradesh, has been arrested. Okay, hold on. This is the teacher. I hope they make a big enough example of him to discourage other teachers from like doing anything similar. Like, what do you get out of it? Like, as a teacher, you know, like, okay, let me get a goddamn iron rod and beat the crap out of this kid. Like, does your salary increase? Are you like sadistic? Like, what happens in your life? What improves in your personal life that you have to do this? Are you just angry? Like,
a lot of people say that
is it that they're lower caste?
It belies like kind of an underlying disgust and rage towards like the Dalit community.
The lower caste community?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I read about incidents like these, like it is analyses primarily from people involved in activism for these communities. So I know that that's a very specific narrative, but I don't see a lot of other people giving explanations for this type of abuse. Oxymoron is saying parents ask teachers to beat the crap out of their kids. Well, Jesus Christ.
Well, then the parents are criminals as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just to be clear, we can't 100% be sure about why this happened, okay? But given that there's so many different reports of lower caste people dying at the hands of upper caste people in India, you know, whether or not this is one of those examples, this highlights that problem, that systemic problem that exists across India, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like really extreme forms of violence. Like it's called caste atrocities for a reason. In fact, just a few days ago, or within the past week, there was an incident where 2 Dalit girls were taken into a field, gang RAPE'd, okay, can't say the word because of YouTube, and then hung from a tree.
Wow.
Like the stuff that happens against Dalits in India is like on a level that is so extreme. Like I've only heard about this level of cruelty towards people when talking about like the terrorism that would be inflicted upon post-slave communities after the Civil War. Because after the Civil War, when the enslaved African Americans got their freedom, the only way that they were kept in check was basically through a reign of terror by, you know, the majority white people in power and forming organizations like the KKK and doing just extremely cruel public forms of dehumanization and violence towards these communities to keep them in their place, because technically they don't have the law on their side anymore. And this level of violence in the form that it takes really reminds me of that. And people need to remember that the Dalit, Adivasi, and tribal community of India constitute 70% of the population. And so a lot of people are calling for basically like a rising up of like consciousness to liberate the majority of Indians from these conditions.
Okay, 2 things. First of all, a lot of people in the live chat are confirming that parents are asking. A lot of Indian people in the live chat are confirming that parents do ask their teachers to beat their children, which is insane. Okay, Okay, let me read this. This is actually kind of weird. Okay, Treasure Kingdom is saying this has nothing to do with religion. Okay, let's see. This is very interesting. It has more to do with supremacist ideologies and impure purity ideologies. Oh, so you mean like religion? What? It has nothing. Hinduism is a religion that has supremacist, which is a supremacist ideology, and is about impure and it's impure and purity. That's the entire point of the caste system. What are you talking about? So you're like, oh, this has nothing to do with religion, but then follow up by confirming that this is a bad religion. In India,
the Dalits are declared. The Dalits and the Shudras are declared the most spiritually impure because their caste jobs dictates that they deal with the worldly things, the material things, the things of this world that make them impure because they're more tangibly connected to the cycles of life and death than others who pursue intellect and esoteric knowledge. That's the whole point. That's what makes them impure.
I just can't get over this country. This is how bizarre this is. Is this like satire? This has nothing to do with religion, and then follows up by it has more to do with supremacist ideologies and impure purity ideologies. Okay, so then religion. Thank you so much. That's religion. God damn it, unbelievable.
Just because the president of a tribal woman doesn't mean that these things don't happen.
Yeah. People are saying he's just rephrasing. Just rephrasing. True. Wait, let me see. Shreya is saying the president is a puppet on formality when the minority president. What is this? I don't understand this. Anyway,
so in terms of the role within the government, when you have a parliamentary system, the president isn't actually that important, right?
Oh,
so
yeah, okay.
Use that position to slot in someone with a politically convenient identity for the sake of pandering to an audience that they want to bolster their support. So right now, the president is a tribal woman, which is actually very historic, and she's part of the BJP party, which was causing all these political contentions.
Yeah, I heard the role of the presidency in India is to just have a palace and just chill there.
I think that's the role of the president in like most parliamentary systems, honestly.
I don't know. In Israel, they have he does goes and travels and acts like a cheerleader for the country or something. So he does some stuff. Anyways, we don't know. By the way, having a president and a prime minister shows that you don't need a monarch for a head of state. Do you know? Because a lot of people who support the monarchy, they say we have a head of state and we have a head of government. Okay, so that's what the monarch can do. Can be kind of like a cheerleader. But the fact that some republics have a president and a prime minister, we have a head of government and we get a president for the heads of state. So there you go. You don't need to make it lifelong, and you don't need to make it based on birth, right? So based on bloodline. It could still be an elective position. You don't need a king.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, people are confirming down with the monarchy. All right, can we clap for the next news?
Oh, this is juicy. This is very juicy. We're getting into Hindu American drama. Okay, more casteism discussion. Okay, this gets juicy.
Can we clap though?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Next news.
Hindu group Sues California says ban against casteism unfairly targets Hindus. So this might be a little bit complicated. I'm going to explain things from the top, and then I'll unpack the timeline so it's more clear for everyone. Okay, so just stick with me. This is legal stuff. On September 22nd, the Hindu American Foundation, or HAF for short, filed a complaint raising their concerns about the state of California as a counter to a recent Hindu caste discrimination lawsuit. The original lawsuit was filed in 2020 by the California Department of Civil Rights on behalf of an anonymous employee of Cisco in California. The plaintiff claimed that his Hindu supervisors deliberately cut him off from important meetings and halted his growth in the company by denying him any promotions just because he belonged to the Dalit caste. Cisco stood on its stance and said that there was no evidence that suggested that the employee faced discrimination. Suhag Shukla, executive director of the Hindu American Foundation, said in the complaint, quote, "The state is treating Hindus in a manner that is different from the way it treats every other religious group." The Hindu American Foundation stated that the caste system is not a core aspect of the Hindu religion and should not be taken as such by the California Department of Civil Rights. According to the HAF, ending caste discrimination is a, quote, "worthy goal," as it would strengthen the Hindu belief in equality. A 2018 survey by the Dalit civil rights group Equality Labs found that 67% of Dalits in the United States who responded felt mistreated in their workplaces, including at Google and Microsoft. So before we dive in, I want to be very clear about what's being discussed here. So, timeline. In 2020, this lawsuit on behalf of the Dalit employee was filed. There's been a lot of stuff going on with that for the past 2 years. So now what the HAF is doing is they are suing the state of California for some of the language that is in their original complaint. And I read the lawsuit. I have a copy of the lawsuit that we can go through. And it gets a little crazy, but there are things where I think they technically might be correct and they might have a point. Although the conclusions that they reach, I completely disagree with. But from a purely legal perspective, I'm no lawyer. Me just doing my best to understand things, I think they might have a point. So the HAF, who I actually really dislike as an organization, they are saying that in the complaint that was originally filed by the state of California, the language of this complaint makes assertions about what the Hindu faith is, about how it is practiced, about what the role of caste is in Hinduism, and therefore the role of discrimination within the community. And so the HAF is basically saying that it is inappropriate for the state to make assertions about what is and is not Hinduism. And to that extent, I think they have a point. It is outside of my understanding of the Constitution that the state is declaring is making declarations about how a faith is outlined. It is not their role to be theologians, right?
It's an observing facts. You cannot, the Constitution in the United States saying you be secular, that doesn't mean that you have to, if something is a statement of fact, that doesn't mean that you cannot say it because you're a government institution. In fact, you might, to keep the government secular, you might have to actually recognize what's part of a religion and what's not part of a religion. So you might be forced to recognize what's part of a religion to be able to remain secular. Because if you don't recognize what's religious and what's not, how could you make sure that it's stayed out of government? Mm-hmm. And Hinduism and casteism is a fundamental part of Hinduism. It is the most fundamental. There's nothing more Hindu than the caste system. So that is a fact, that is a reality, and the government of California is recognizing that. I don't understand how are they supposed to deny reality?
So here is their contention. So I'm reading the lawsuit right now. The California Civil Rights Department is pursuing enforcement actions under the California Fair Employment and Housing Act that wrongly asserts that caste system and caste-based discrimination are integral parts of Hindu teaching and practices by declaring the system to be, quote, so they're quoting from the original complaint, quote, a strict Hindu religious hierarchy, end quote, which requires discrimination, quote, by social custom and legal mandate. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know to what extent the state can actually make declarations about what is and is not a faith. But I do have questions about that. And maybe they have a point, but they actually take this lawsuit in a completely different direction that I do want to unpack.
Okay. I would say that if a government is not able to do such a thing, it will not be able to remain secular. And I think Oxymoron also agrees with them, saying half is right, HAF is right. It's not for a state to define religion. Otherwise, it is state atheism. That is nonsense, Oxymoron, okay? Because if a state cannot decide what is religion, part of a religion or not, then you cannot remain secular. Here's an example, okay? I could put the nativity scene, Christian nativity scene, in a government building. And you're like, well, no, that's not secularism. You can't do that. This country is a secular country, okay? Or like, who are you to say that the nativity scene is Christian? We're going to say this is a cultural thing. It has nothing to do with religion.
They actually did make that. They did say that about a Christian monument.
Let me make my point. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they make that point, right? But then you could have as much religion in the government as you want, and anybody coming and saying like, oh, this is a secular country, you can't have religion in the government. Then you could be like, well, we're not in position as a government to define what's part of religion or not. So given that we don't have any definition for what's in the religion or not, all of this could be allowed as not religious within the government. So to remain secular, you have to decide as the government what is part of the religion and what's not part of the religion. To keep religion, the only way for you to keep religion out of government is to define religion and define what's part of religion. So it's nonsense to say a secular government means that the government cannot define what's part of religion. There are a lot of people, a lot of educated people, both secular and non-secular, that have done scholarly work about what is part of Hinduism, what is part of Christianity, and what is part of Islam and every other religion. And the government can appeal to their authority, to their scholarly authority, right? And any objective analysis of Hinduism will recognize that the only thing that all different parts of Hinduism seem to have in common, because Hinduism is a very fluid religion. It's just a mash of a whole bunch of different customs and culture that for a very long time didn't have anything to do with each other other than the fact that they were all in India, right? It's not like Islam that has like a foundation or root or anything, except casteism. That's the only thing that binds them all together. So to remove casteism from Hinduism is so dishonest. There's nothing in there that unites them all except this one thing. But yeah,
it gets so much more dishonest. They have as evidences or in their claims of relief. Where is it?
Wait. I want to deal with a moron in the live chat. Okay.
Go for it.
This moron in the live chat.
Oh God.
Ambarish Gupta in the live chat saying you are incorrect. Caste is not even a Hindu word. Are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Varna and Jati. Is that better? Are you happy now?
It's the English term for a Hindu. Because oh my God, yes, caste. But other countries, other religions have caste as well. Hinduism has caste. It's not referred to in Hinduism or in Sanskrit as caste because it's an English word. Are you telling us that caste is not Hindu? That it's an English word? Oh, thank you so much. I thought the word caste came out of Sanskrit itself. What are you talking about? God damn it. Okay,
it's
so
actually from Portuguese.
in that case, temples, Hindu temples are not Hindu. You know why? Because temple, the word temple is an English word.
Oh, shut up.
What the hell are you talking about, you idiot? Then Hindu meditation is not Hindu because the word meditation is an English word. You moron.
So this lawsuit then goes on to literally claim they in with no irony go through the British excuse. The British excuse. They say that this is all just a product of British colonialism, and the fact that California is bringing forward these contentions is basically evidence that they only see things through a imperialist, colonialist lens. So I was shocked that they actually had the gall to go with the whole British excuse whitewashing thing that apologists always go for. So that was one thing. Their basically contention is that in the original complaint, that the way that it is phrased, they say that it centrally defames Hinduism and Hindus and treats Hindus as a special class that needs to have special investigation. Like Hindus are being treated like they need to be looked at with a special microscope to see if they are being casteist or whatever. And they're saying that this is being treated differently. So basically, for this lawsuit, they would be satisfied if the state just amends their original complaint and removes that language out of the complaint, where they're making assertions about what Hinduism is, and they're making assertions about the discriminatory nature of Hinduism in the form of casteism. But then they make a very interesting argument that I was not expecting to find, which is, wait, let me find it in the complaint. So basically, they are saying that if the state, wait, Armin, listen to me. This is important. Okay. Let me outline this as I understand it from the lawsuit. If the state is making an assertion about what Hinduism is, then by saying that it is within the Hindu religious tradition to discriminate on the basis of caste, then they're saying, okay, then the state is acknowledging that this is a form of religion, and based on other statutes, the state has to make an effort to accommodate religious requests. So they're saying that if the state is acknowledging that Hinduism is an essential, if casteism and discrimination on caste is an essential part of Hinduism, then based on other statutes, they would be forced to basically enact casteism, because then someone could claim that they need religious accommodation to not work with someone from a caste that they don't like, to not be supervised from someone but from the wrong caste, whether or not anyone else involved acknowledges that they are from the wrong caste or acknowledges the existence of caste themselves. So that was a very interesting, because they say, okay, so if you acknowledge that this is a part of the religion, and we have other statutes that say that you have to make accommodations for religious practice, except when they violate other parts of the law, the problem is that casteism is not against the law. Discrimination on caste is not against the law. So then someone would be forced to make this accommodation because discrimination on the basis of caste is not currently outlined. So they're saying that because the state acknowledges this, then essentially it would allow a loophole for which people would have a legal claim to discriminate against people on the basis of caste in the workplace, which was not the direction I was expecting this lawsuit to go at all. That argument was fascinating to me.
Say that one more time in one line, if you can.
I can't explain this in one line. I'm going to break it down. So they're saying, one, if the state acknowledges that discriminating on the basis of caste is part of Hinduism, you are making a declaration this is part of a religious practice. Two, we have other statutes that say that in the workplace, for example, employers have to make accommodations for religious practice as long as it does not have an undue burden. And does and
well,
no, I'm not done. And also that accommodation does not violate any other existing laws. Now, three, the problem is that, accommodation on the basis of racism, sexism, et cetera, would not stand. The state would not acknowledge that religious accommodation. However, they're discriminating on the basis of caste is not currently outlawed. Therefore, they would have to observe that accommodation.
Okay, then
so they're saying that this is their logic about why the state acknowledging this would actually cause more casteism.
Okay, fair point. Let's move forward with outlawing it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
Also,
like part of what the whole lawsuit is trying to set a precedent for, right? But they don't like the
yes,
fact
I
that they're
mean, but then we have to
acknowledging
move.
it has an origin
Like,
in
yeah,
Hinduism.
we have to move forward. Yeah. So okay, thank you for addressing the problem. That's the whole point that we're trying to move forward with outlining it. So this guy also is okay. I want to address this guy, right?
Go for it.
Yeah. So he's spreading nonsense in the live chat, right? So Ambarish Gupta is also saying the first British introduced the caste system to India, which is fucking nonsense. Okay, the caste system is based on the Vedas and then revalidated and enforced. Okay, in the Manusmriti, which predates, like it says that caste system census in 1800s. Okay, that is nonsense. Okay, guys, the Manusmriti. You go read the Manusmriti. It's a disgusting Hindu book that validates and enforces, gives instructions on how to enforce the caste system. The source of the caste system is India, is based on Hinduism. I made a video on this. You could go watch it on our channel. Go through the history of this. These are Indians who try to protect or trying to defend India, but they piss on India by doing this, by not acknowledging the problems with their own country, but they care about the image of India more than actually improving India. And by doing this, they're doing a disservice to India. They act like they're protecting India for its reputation, but they're actually stopping it from moving forward. The source of this problem is the British had made a lot of committed a lot of crimes in India. Okay, and also enforcing the caste system. Okay, as they did help to enforce Sharia in India, was one of those things that the British did wrong. But the source was the Hindu text. The British, they used the source, the Hindu text, as a way to enforce the laws, because when the British went to India, right, they decided to use the laws that the locals have as a way to create order in that place. So they went to the Muslims and they're like, what do you have? You have Sharia. Okay, let's use Sharia for you guys. They went to the Hindus. They went to the upper caste. They asked what you have. And they're like, oh, we have the Manusmriti. So they use the Manusmriti as a way to enforce laws and orders in India from the Hindus, okay? But they had the Manusmriti, and the Manusmriti is a Hindu text recognized as is basically a Sharia version of Hinduism. And it's a disgusting, vile book that constantly confirms
it's one of the most violent, racist, dehumanizing things I have ever read. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it constantly refers to the Vedas as a way to support the caste system and its legitimacy, right? Also, this idiot in the live chat is saying, American live chat is saying, also, just calling me a moron will not help you with your argument. I know. That's why I'm not just calling you a moron, okay? To help with my argument, I come up with reason and arguments and also references, and evidence and all of that. I just call you a moron on top of all that. Okay, your argument is destroyed. I just call you a moron for just like a seasoning on top. Okay, I just recognize how stupid you are not to destroy your argument. Your argument is already destroyed by me. I pissed on your argument. I walked up on it. I shit on it. Okay, it's way after your argument is destroyed. Just for fun, I come and I call you a moron because you are a moron, and I just want to recognize it in front of everybody. That's what's happening here. I'm sorry if you're too stupid to recognize that your argument was destroyed before I called you a moron. All right. There's that. All right. So.
Oh my word.
It's just so disgusting. People come here and just try instead of trying to make this India a better place, they're worried about the reputation of their religion and their country. Like, instead of actually caring about people's lives and trying to make it, like, they are so concerned about Hinduism's or India's reputation more than their fellow human beings. That's how violent, disgusting for me. This sensitivity, like, oh no, it was the British. It was the British all this time. This knee-jerk reaction to just blame everything on either the Muslim or the British. Which it is true that the Muslims and the British, they have done a lot of crimes and a lot of problems in India is their responsibility. But not taking any responsibility yourself, or like knowing what the actual sources for many of these problems are, trying to do everything you can to protect Hinduism or India, is just for reputation. It's just so disgusting. It shows that you actually don't genuinely care for people's lives, because the recognition of the actual source is the first step that you have to take to make things better, right? And if you can't even do that, then we can't even take the second step.
Yeah. I think it is important to acknowledge that there actually are a lot of Hindus and Hindu organizations specifically that take like full accountability for where these ideas come from. They will literally, I read an article today of someone unpacking, like, actually, let's look at all the ways that this originates from our text, that this is a part of the construction of the faith itself. That doesn't mean that we are not still practitioners or believers, and proudly so. We're just not going to run away from the problem. And so in terms of this lawsuit, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal scholar. So I don't know the extent to which they might actually have a legitimate argument. Like I said, there are ways in which I think they might have a legitimate argument on this one part of the state actually making assertions about what the religion is. In terms of the other stuff in this lawsuit, like all the assertions they make, basically denying that this is anything that comes from Hindu scripture itself, and this is just all a British colonial invention, like, is infuriating, and it's just not true. Technically, they're a 501c3 nonprofit, but they just function like a lobby. It drives me crazy, and they have ties to the VHP and stuff like that, so I'm not surprised.
Wait, Troel in the light? Yeah, go on. Let me know when you're done. Like when it's.
Oh no, I'm done.
Okay, Troel, this, I don't know if people know this reference. Troel live chat saying, your argument is already destroyed by me. Armin, did you just channel Krishna? So I don't know if you know, in the Gita, right? In the Gita, Krishna tells Arjun that the war is already over. Like, don't worry about killing these people, because this is already done. The people who were supposed to die, like, time is not an issue. Time is irrelevant. Things that were supposed to happen will just happen. So it
was already written, so to speak.
It was already, it's already in it's the destiny. Yeah, all that nonsense. Yeah. So that's I like it. I like the reference. That's beautiful. Okay. Yeah, the inner Christian.
Wait, this quote. Viola Treason. I am become Armin, the destroyer of arguments.
and oh god, this is good.
And then it's like a little cat holding fire from his hands. Like, oh. Amazing.
God, that's beautiful. Okay. So, the Gita's language is beautiful. As dangerous of a book it is, the language is pretty epic. Like, the way you read it, like, oh my god, Krishna is pretty a badass.
Oh, as a literary work, it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
The idea is contained within.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's a horrible book when it comes to teaching you morality and what's good and what's wrong. But it's a really beautiful book. It's a really beautiful work of literature if you don't take it seriously as real, right? And it's a shame that, unlike Japanese people, Indian people would not allow Hollywood to do, a movie on it, because they're butthurt over
dramatized versions.
Dramatized version of it, because would be so cool. Yeah.
If we could have an anime version of these Hindu myths, it would be a blockbuster. It's so cool.
Yeah. Why are Japanese people so chill about other people taking their culture and just doing whatever they want with it? And this is, by the way, why we have California rolls, because they're like, they took sushi and they turned it completely. Yeah, anime. All right. Oh, people. Okay, I'm not gonna highlight that. All right, can we?
Don't do it.
Can we clap for the next news? Oh,
yes, we can. This is fun.
Really nice.
And I have some things in the show notes that you can show as well.
By the way, for people who think that we're here to make India look bad or just to show bad things from India, okay? Because we're not, okay? We love India, right? This is one of those new segments where we could show you good things from India, okay? Unlike Pakistan, not all news from India is bad. Okay.
Actually, we have good news from Pakistan sometimes.
I know. I was joking.
Why are you feeding in? You're feeding this a partition mindset. That's not what we're.
When was the last time?
For unity.
When was
it's
the
not
last
a competition.
When was the last time we had the good news from Pakistan? Do you even remember the last time we had the good news from Pakistan?
Every time we have good news from Pakistan, it's literally like, oh, someone that was going to be killed for blasphemy didn't actually get killed.
Yeah. So it's All right, there you go. Point
God.
Yeah, we do have good news. We have beautiful news from India. Okay, this is one of the best news in India. Okay, all right.
Next news: Atheist convention in India draws 10,000, largest meetup in the world. This is so cool. On October 2nd, an annual gathering of atheists named Litmus 2022 took place in Kerala, India. Over 10,000 atheists and free thinkers from all across the state met up with each other in the Rajiv Gandhi Indoor Stadium. The event organizers, Essence Global, promoted the gathering with the tagline, "The world's biggest atheist meet in God's own country." Debates and discussions on various topics such as atheism, religion, casteism, Hindutva, and politics in Islam took place at Litmus 2022. One of the organizers, Tommy Sebastian, said that the number of attendees has rapidly increased since the first event. Sebastian mentioned that the first gathering in 2018 had about 4,000 participants. Okay, first of all, 4,000 for your first event is crazy. The second edition saw 8,000 attendees. This time, over 10,000 showed up for the event. During the event, one of the founding members of Essence Global, C. Ravichandran, compared God to a fictional character such as Harry Potter. Ashkar Ali, an apostate from Islam, centered his speech on Inshallah. And notable ex-Muslim activist Arif Hussein Tharivath debated the topic, is religious education necessary? So, congratulations.
Is this the largest gathering of atheists in history? Isn't it?
Probably.
Guys, this is the largest gathering of atheists in one place in history. Look at the pictures Susanna sent me.
It's crazy.
Wait, this is insane. This is an atheist convention, and this many people showed up.
At a stadium. They filled the stadium.
How come atheists, what other atheist channel are not covering this? This is why you come to Atheist Republic. We take India seriously. This is the biggest gathering of atheists ever in history, and Western atheists are not talking about this. Our atheist channel are not talking about this. Okay, this is why you subscribe to Atheist Republic, because we have an international focus. How is this being ignored by other atheists around the world? This is historic. This is a historic moment. Nobody has ever gathered this many people in one place over the topic of atheism. This is impressive. Thank you, India. This is amazing. Who are the people who did this? Who's doing this? Oh my God. Unbelievable. And it's not the topic is atheism. It's just they happen to be atheists. No, the topic is an atheist convention. I'm just excited. Thank you, whoever. Good job, India. Good job, India. Amazing. You're leading the way. Okay? You're leading the way in atheist activism, India.
Slow clap.
Yeah. I wish, you know what's missing here, Susie? We should have been there. I wanted us to be here.
I know, because I have so many people I have friends who are speakers. I have friends who are going, and they're like, oh my gosh, we want you to come. It'd be so much fun if you could join us, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I knew that I couldn't make it because I have stuff going on right now, but pretend I didn't. I don't know if I can go to the country right now. I don't know if I can go to India right now. I don't know if I ever can. Me and Susanna have police reports filed against us in India. That's why we don't know if we ever could. For blasphemy. For cartoons. For blasphemy. For cartoons. For cartoons of Goddess Kali.
So that's why we can't be at this convention. I would
Yeah.
seriously have gone. If I didn't have police reports against me, I would have been at this convention. I would have.
It would be so much fun. So yeah, I don't know. I know that they're going to be doing this more frequently now that the pandemic is basically over, and this is any indication, like this is just going to continue to grow. It's really cool. Oh, Qasim is saying, love India from Iran. That's what I love about Atheist Republic is like we have community everywhere, and so we talk about our global godless community everywhere. Like, I think you're so right, Armin. I'm so focused on what our organization is doing. Sometimes I don't even notice the lack of coverage from other people because I'm just focusing on what we're doing, right? And so I think that's a really good point. Like, when the other day with Secular Rarity, you were talking about like people not big North American atheist people not talking about what's happening in Iran. I was shocked. Like, I didn't even think about that. And I think what I love about our organization is that for me, when these things happen, it feels so personal because I have friends that go to these conventions. They send me pictures of how things go. They send me, photos of their favorite moments saying, oh my gosh, we wish you were here. On the other side, when there are people risking their lives in Iran, we have people that are part of our community. Like, if you're watching, like, your community who are risking their lives to fight for their freedoms, to fight for secularism. They send us photos of how the besieged assaulted them. Like, this is part of our international, like, solidarity with each other. We gain strength from each other and excitement about how things could be in the future. And so I love to cover stuff like this because I don't know, because of the way I see our community, it feels like a win for all of us in a way.
Yeah. Okay, Noman gave us a super chat of 40 rupees. Thank you so much for the super chat and saying, how can I get invited to these meets? I think you just go there. I think
so. My understanding is this is not an invite situation. This was a big event. This was a convention where basically you buy a ticket and attend.
Oh, wait, this was you buy tickets and 10,000 people showed up? So this was not free and still 10,000 people showed up?
Yeah.
This was a paid event and still 10,000 people showed up?
I'm assuming this is a paid event. If they have this level of production and they're doing it in a stadium, someone's got to be paying shit. Yeah. I mean, this is a convention, right? Like, people pay to go to conventions. I didn't actually look on their website. I'm just making a baseline assumption.
Okay, we don't know if it's paid or not, okay? But
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Let me look it up real quick.
Darko is saying still looks mostly dudes. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's an issue. I was actually looking as well. I see one woman. You see this one here? I see one in a sea of men. I see there's just like right here. Do you see?
There were a lot of women who were speaking as panelists, though.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Representation. So hopefully that could improve.
Okay. But I don't want people to think that this is a problem with Litmus or something, because globally, the people who are most likely to be involved in atheist community is men. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
If you look at the analytics of any atheist organization or any atheist channel, our analytics, it's mostly men. This is just a fact. Like, it's not any specific organization. We see this everywhere.
Yes, it's the testosterone that makes us more rebellious.
Shut up. We don't. Okay.
What? It's true.
We already deal with enough accusations of sexism just because of the disproportionate gender balance that just happens organically. But you saying that does not paint a good picture when people are already giving that narrative. Thank you very much.
It makes us more violent as well. It's not just a good thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. Okay. It's not all positive.
Okay, so it was a paid event. But it was only 300 rupees.
Oh, wow. That's actually more impressive. I thought this was free and 10,000 people showed up. These people had to pay and 10,000 people showed up? I'm more impressed. Amazing. That's amazing. The fact, here's the thing, even if it's 1 rupee, okay, the fact that you have to do something to get the ticket beyond just showing up usually reduces the numbers by a huge number. I mean, actually, no. Well, never mind. I'm impressed. That's all I'm going to say. Anon IR is saying, "Hey Armin, thanks for all your efforts. Greeting from north of Iran." Hey Anon IR, thank you for that. This made me sad. Read this one.
Oh, young atheist is saying, "I wish this could happen in Pakistan one day. Maybe it can.
It will one day, not soon. Okay, I'll be honest with you. It's not going to be soon, but it will one day. You're probably not going to be alive to see it, but at least know that it will happen one day. It will happen. I promise you that it will happen one day. Okay?
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much of the programming of this convention was in English, because I know that this is like largely a South Indian event, so I believe they're probably speaking Malayalam. But I know that this actually did draw a lot of people from around the country, so maybe they were speaking in English since that is like the lingua franca. I hope so, because when people are asking me like, "Oh, Susanna, you should go," and I'm like, I wouldn't know what anyone is saying.
Look, you got newspaper coverage too.
Yeah.
It is in a newspaper, guys. Atheist Meet attracts huge participation. 4 newspapers in India covered this.
No, there was way more. This is just the physical print copies.
Oh.
It got way bigger coverage than just 4. It's just like who actually put it in the physical newspaper.
By the way, I just want to say, not only Pakistan will have an atheist convention one day, I mean, in many years from now, like this, okay? We will have an atheist convention like this in Kaaba, okay?
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Okay? We will have a gay pride parade around the Kaaba in Mecca, and we will have an atheist convention in Mecca as well. We will have seats all around the Kaaba, okay? And the speaker will be on top of the Kaaba, okay? And all the people will be around it, okay? That will happen one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, young atheist, wait, this is really important. They're saying, "I am from Pakistan. I try to find people like me, but I can't find one. You should join our Discord server." So in the description to this video, or also on our website, you can see the little icon in the corner here. We have a link to our Discord server. You can find a lot of people who are like you on our Discord server. And we actually also have consulates, like local meetup groups in Pakistan that are on our website. If you go to atheistrepublic.com/consulates, you should be able to find a group in Pakistan. So yes, this is what we're here for. Atheist Republic is here specifically to provide community for people like you. So thank you for joining our live chat and coming today.
Yeah, we should actually, Susanna, we should market our Discord, Atheist Republic Discord server more often. That's a really good place for people to just chill and hang and talk about stuff.
Because especially because it's Discord, like someone should always be up at any time, right? Versus in a consulate, things are a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Okay, is this the last news? Yes.
Yes, this is.
Okay. Before I bring up the news for which one do you want me to bring first? Like the Susanna and the Susanna one. I'll bring that one first.
Yeah, well, I thought it might be good because of my barayas.
Yes. Okay, actually, can I click on this? All right. All right.
Oh, wait. Young Atheist is saying, "Thanks, Armin. You are my role model."
Oh, thank you. Thank you. By the way, that guy that I called the moron, I want to say, no hard feelings, okay? I'll just call out bad arguments when I see them. I hope you could recover from me destroying your bad arguments, and no hard feelings, okay? No. Man, I just don't want people to be too sad because I'm just so good at like tearing apart their bad points. Can we? Yeah. Love to everybody. Okay. Okay,
how do they do it? They're like.
All right. Can we? Wait. Let me close all of these tabs. We can clap. I'm assuming we can clap. Yes. All right. Next news.
Atheist Republic attends and supports protests for Iranian freedom. So I wanted, actually, this was Armin's idea to talk about what Babak and I have been doing to support the protests for Iranian freedom, because we've been like very active. When we have free time, this is what we're doing. So I was really excited about this because, yeah, Babak and I have been doing a lot of this, and there's a lot I wanted to share with you guys, and a lot of amazing photographs that Babak took as well. So this is like one of my favorites. This is from last week, and we went to a protest, and this was Vienna's contribution to the global protests for Iranian freedom that happened in 150 cities around the world. And whenever I go to a protest, for some reason, I have this instinct to just get to a high place and watch everything. So I was like, okay, I found this like signpost. And so I like climbed up this signpost, and I was just standing there. And then someone came over to me and they handed me this flag, and they're like, hold the flag and wave it around, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I was doing. And I was hanging on to that pole for 2 hours, just having a blast and like screaming my lungs out. And so I wanted to, I was thinking about this event, and I was also thinking about a lot of the stuff going on in Iran. And I post a lot about it on my Instagram stories, particularly because on my Instagram, I have more of a following there that is like people from my personal life, you know, that don't know me from my activism. They just know me from being Susanna, right? Going to school with me or something. So in there, I'm not preaching to the choir already as much as I am here, for example. And I wanted to write about why these protests are important for me. Like, why do I feel so compelled to get involved? And so, inspired by the famous song Boraye by Shervin Hajipur that is, you know, gone viral. And Armin has done a dissection of that song in Secular Jihadist, if you're curious. I wanted to write down my Borayes. For those who don't know, Boraye means like for or because of. So like, why are you doing something? And Armin, you can also in this post, you can click through the slides so we can look at the other photos. So I said, inspired by Shervin Hajipur's song Boraye, I wanted to write down what compels me to stand with the Iranian people as they fight for their lives and liberties. For my dear friends who can never return to where they were born, who had to choose between life and everything they've ever known. For the children who are separated from their dying parents because prison awaits them upon their return for their homeland. For my friends who fear for their families when the internet gets shut down. For the little girls that dream of being singers, but whose voices can never be heard before crowds because of the sound of their voice inspires temptation. For the atheists, apostates, and homosexuals who are executed for spreading corruption in the land, while the corruption of the IRGC dominates the nation. For the free thinkers whose blasphemies land them on death row. For the Atheist Republic community members that send us pictures of their bodies battered from the bloody kisses of the besieged. For the impoverished thief whose fingers are amputated while the elites create the greatest robberies. For the ethnic minorities who are denied birth certificates and live undocumented because their names sound too foreign and too un-Islamic. For the kidnapped and executed journalist Ruhul Azam. For Sohail Arabi to be reunited with his dear mother, Faranjis. For all the diplomatic hostages and political prisoners to feel the arms of their loved ones again. And so many other Borayes. I don't know. I think it's like so personal for so many people. And you know, for me, it's just like personal by proxy, you know, because I have so many people who are so closely personally affected by this. And I really want to explain to people with like greater clarity about what exactly is at stake for millions of people. Because I don't know, in my sphere of being an American, like a lot of people don't have an insight about like what is really at stake, what decisions Iranians have to make on a daily basis, what the really severe cost that their freedoms come at, and what this means for all the people who had to leave, right? And so I really wanted to highlight that. And we can also look at a bunch of the other photos that Babak took, which I love. So you guys can check these out on his website, babakdalivan.com. And he's every day that he goes to a protest, he goes home and posts like just batches of photos all over again. So you can see a lot because they keep on coming. But this one is really funny. The photo of this guy holding a sign. So the guy on the right, he's holding a sign, and I don't know how to say it in Persian, but Armin, can you say actually how to say it in Persian? Because I know how to.
Wait, so you actually know, I was gonna highlight this because this is so funny. I wanted to read to people.
Yeah,
what it
it's
says.
great. There's a whole story behind this too that I can tell you.
Okay, so it says نه تنها ریدم تو این اسلامتون بلکه ریدم تو اون یکی اسلامتون که میگید این اون اسلام نیست. All right. Do you want to explain it or should I explain it?
So the translation, correct me if I'm wrong, is basically not only do I shit on Islam, but I shit on the other Islam of yours when you say this is not the true Islam.
Right. So if I want to, so basically every time the regime like does something vile, a lot of people come and try to defend Islam because like, oh, instead of like helping people, they want to defend the reputation of Islam. They're like, oh no, this abusive behavior by the government, that's not actually Islamic, right? This is not the true Islam, right? So basically the message of the sign is like, I shit on both of them. I shit on that Islam and I shit on your Islam. Whichever version of Islam there is, I shit on both, right? So it says, basically they're saying, not only do I shit on that Islam that you're saying is not the true Islam, I also shit on your Islam that you're saying is the true Islam.
It's so funny. Wait, I want to address something really quickly because Gossam is saying that I have the Shalom Hahiz flag. No, I do not. Thank you very much for those. So, Gossam is basically making a joke saying that I'm holding the monarchist flag. I'm actually not. I'll show you the imperial monarchist flag.
So somebody was asking Cosmic Heathen because a lot of people are not used to the Iranian flag with a lion in between. A lot of people are like, what is this flag with a lion in between, right? A lot in the protests, right? So Cosmic Heathen also in the live chat is saying, why is there a Sri Lankan lion? Why is Sri Lankan lion on the inverted Indian flag? What? I don't know what on inverted Indian flag. Oh, because it's like India. Oh my God, I've never heard. This is the actual Iranian flag this is the official one before the revolution. Wow. Don't ever Susanna, a lot of Iranians will be so butthurt if somebody described the flag a Sri Lankan lion on an inverted Indian flag. That's how he's describing the official Iranian flag.
Yo, Jesus you have Christ. No idea how hardcore people treat this flag.
This is blasphemous for an Iranian nationalist. Jesus Christ. People are really, really sensitive about this flag, especially because the flag changed because of the Islamic Revolution and the Allah symbol was put right in the middle. So a lot of Iranians who are against the regime, they consider the current flag, the official flag, as sacrilege, right? And they consider this flag as something sacred that we need to go back to. So your description of it is pure blasphemy in there for their ears. But yeah, so Susanna is being accused by Qassem by saying that this is a monarchist flag. And a lot of people assume that because this was the flag of Iran before the Islamic Republic. And at that time, there was a monarchy. So people say a lion is like kingdom and king. So this is the monarchist flag. However, the symbol for monarchy is what Susanna is now showing on the page, which is the lion with the sword, but also with a crown. Okay.
Yeah, this is the imperialist flag of Iran.
Flag of Iran. But if you notice this one, there's no crown. Okay. this one has a crown, and this one has no crown. So it's not necessarily a monarchist.
Most
flag.
people who support a secular republic use this flag.
Yes.
The vast majority. The only people that really have a problem with this flag are the communists, to be honest.
Yeah. A lot of people are also butthurt when people keep like they don't want the Allah symbol there, and they don't want the lion symbol there as well. So a lot of leftist Iranians keep like putting different things in there, and a lot of Iranians are butthurt over that. They're like, this is like a flag. It's not like a paint book or a pictures like a child's drawing book or something. Like you can't just so.
No, it's really funny because actually, no, this is an important discussion to have because I mean, in terms of like reviewing and giving insight into my experience attending these protests, is that arguments and contentions over the flag have actually disintegrated the unity of a lot of these protests. Like people are become very sensitive about what flag you show during these protests to the extent that it actually destroys the ability for them to move forward. And this is a perfect example about how when left-leaning people try to organize, they split apart and become useless over the stupidest things, over the slightest disagreements, right? Over like basically ideological purity. And what is so important about the protests that we've been seeing for Iran over the past 3 weeks is that we have seen unprecedented unity. People are putting aside their differences over these little things and saying, you know what, we have a bigger issue that we need to focus on here, and that is bringing down the regime. And to that end, one thing that's been a huge problem, at least here in Vienna, is that one of the organizations that has been organizing a lot of these protests is a feminist socialist group called Rosa Österreich, or however you say Austria in German. And they started going up to people and saying, you cannot fly your flag. You cannot show that Iranian flag. You cannot show the monarchist flag. Except then they were flying communist flags. And they were handing people signs and photos that were explicitly promoting communism. And they were handing out these stickers. Wait, no, I need to zoom in. I need a tight zoom in.
Goddamn commies. They ruin everything.
Can you see this? Wait. Look at. They were telling Iranians that they are not allowed to fly the flag that they want, but they were handing out fight for communism stickers.
Unbelievable.
I went to a protest that they organized yesterday. I wasn't at the one where they were handing out these stickers. Babak came home. He showed me this. I have not seen him so angry. Like, not only that, they tried to kick him out of the protest because there have been all these rumors going around about this one guy who has been accused of being basically a Basiji or a spy. And they have these photos of him in the crowd. And they said, look, they were holding up a photo and they're looking at Babak. They're like, look, this is you. You're one of them, blah, blah, blah. And they started manhandling him and trying to kick him out of the protest. And then people were like, whoa. I don't know who the hell you think you are, because Babak has been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been organizing for a long time. He has a high degree of respect and reputation within this community. You guys are new to this. You don't know who the fuck he is. So how dare you try to kick him out on an accusation that he's working for the regime in front of his community, saying that you're crazy. A spy and you don't know who he is and what he's been doing and how much he's contributed to what you're now just getting interested in for the sake of promoting your own agenda. So a lot of people here have started to get really angry because it's become clear to them that when these lefties organize for the sake of free Iran, it's not really for the sake of free Iran, because then they say, oh no, you can't show this, you can't show that. They have the nerve to tell Iranians at a moment like this how to express themselves. Are you fucking kidding me? The whole reason, why Iranians are in the street is for free expression. And then in a country where they came to flee for their lives, you now have the nerve to dictate how they express how they would like their future representative government to be? Like, come on. But then it's okay when people are flying flags for Kurdish communist organizations or international socialist alternative. Like, it's disgusting. And after that happened, Babak had a ton of people from his community messaging him, outraged, like railing this organization for the way that they are just like bald-faced trying to appropriate what they're fighting for. And what I find really interesting is that within Iran, we are seeing an amazing showing of just multi-ethnic unity, right? Like people not buying into propaganda that this is about cessationism, like not buying into separatist insurgents propaganda from the regime, not buying into racist narratives and saying we're all Iranians, Kurdistan is our heart, like Baluchistan is our eyes, like we are all together, right? We're not going to let you fearmonger about splitting of borders or anything to try to disintegrate our movement. They are de-emphasizing the importance of racial or ethnic identity, right? For the sake of a liberatory, more like civic nationalism identity, right? But what I see from people on the outside is a lot of people in Western circles who have spent their whole time in the West, whatever that means, they are putting a ton of emphasis on the Kurdish angle of things, which I think is super interesting. They're putting more emphasis on Mahsa's Kurdish identity than Mahsa's own family is. Like Mahsa's family is like, she's Iranian. Yes, she has a Kurdish ethnicity, but she's an Iranian woman. But people on the outside that I've noticed in many protests, especially from these commies and other people who harp on and on about Western imperialism, I've seen essentially like a competition over how much we can talk about, how much we can like defer to Kurdistan. Like, I've seen people posting basically like, if you don't call her Gina Amini, you are erasing her Kurdish identity and you're disgusting. You don't care about Kurdish people at all because you're using the farce name that she's forced to use by the government, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and I'm like, a lot of people don't know her given name is Gina. Like, calm the fuck down. Is that what you're gonna like bite at people's hands at when they're doing their best to raise awareness about a situation? I find it so interesting that it's people outside of Iran who are putting such an emphasis on that angle when it's the people that were born and raised there, the people that are still there that are like, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, it in some ways it does like matter that she's Kurdish because we do care about how they are mistreated, but that's not what we're emphasizing for the sake of bringing this forward. Am I making sense?
Her own family addressed this, that they're like, don't, we are Iranian and don't try to use our Kurdish ethnicity as a way to divide us from the rest of Iran, right? Like this is, the Iranian people have rised up and they're defending us and our family and we're united as Iranians. So that was, that's what their family said. So,
yeah.
And they acknowledge that they're trying to, don't make this about, the government itself is already making this about race. We don't need to add to that. Okay. That's what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to cover today or other stuff we wanted to talk about. Oh, can you pull up Babak's Instagram?
Yes.
So if you guys would like to see what the Atheist Republic leadership is doing to engage and support in the Iranian protests, go follow Babak Dalvand on Instagram. And he has, if you scroll down, every time we go to a protest or anything, he makes these amazing edits and reels of everything that happened at the protest. So I think it's such a cool way to see how like people are getting involved, and it's also very creative and extremely well done. So it's a lot of fun. So make sure to go follow him and check it out, and you can see what we're doing, what it looks like, what it feels to be there. And make sure to, look for protests and demonstrations within your own city or your country, because it does mean a lot to people to see non-Iranians engaging in these protests and seeing that they care. Like, people are so nice to me when I attend, because they're not used to seeing like non-Iranian people showing up and actually caring. And it really touches my heart. Like, in it, I want them to see that it's not like just me. I want to see them to see how large the support really is. People are so sweet to me yesterday. Like, many people don't necessarily speak English. Because it's not an English speaking country. And yesterday there was this lady who's really nice to me, and then her daughter spoke a little bit of English, and they're like, "Oh, you're American? Oh my gosh, wow." And then she said to me as best she can, she's like, "When Iran is free, like, you should come with us home."
Oh, that's so sweet. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it also made me really emotional, because it's just like, there's so many people that just want to go home.
No.
And it's amazing to see like how hard, they're fighting from outside. And it's so important, because the power of the diaspora is a huge reason why this is getting the attention it's getting. It's because of Iranians outside of Iran who are screaming at the top of their lungs that it's getting attention. And yeah, I know that it matters a lot to them, and they really want what's best for where they're from. Everyone's like, "Oh, Susie's gonna cry." After the show last week, someone messaged me. They're like, "Go take care of yourself. You had like 2 or 3 emotional breakdowns." I'm like, 1, that's a daily occurrence. It's not a big deal. But 2, I think it's kind of funny when people see me crying on the show and ask me like if I'm okay. Like, for me crying is not an expression of me being not okay. It's like, it's how I express my emotions and like what's going on in my heart, like my heart is broken. It's how I show it. I can't help it.
You should be it kind of means, it kind of is an indication that you're okay, because that you have enough sympathy for other people. So like, you're more okay than most people, I think.
Actually true.
Because you have okay. I think that's a proper reaction. Anyways, I did a injustice to the Indian Atheist Convention, okay? Because you sent me something to show, and we mischaracterized the event, okay, as being a sausage fest. Because I just noticed that this guy, is this from the convention?
Yeah, he's like the main organizer of Essence Global.
Oh, so we know the main organizer is this guy. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. He did the Indian convention. So tell our video editor to add this to the end of that section, because there are pictures here that we didn't share. And also, I was looking for the person to thank, and apparently it's this guy. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And okay, here. Look at this. This is actually a little bit more diverse than I thought. Is this from the convention?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of girls here. Look at that. Yeah. In fact, it was so full that there's not enough chair. This is a sign of a successful event where people have to they're forced to sit on the ground because there's not enough chair for everybody. So that's great. So also,
of course, it's the women sitting on the floor. No, I'm kidding.
I knew you were going to say that. I just knew it. Let me see. Okay, this one. Oh, there's more women here. Look at that. Okay, so it's more diverse than I thought. Like, there's some women here. Like, at least 4 here. No, there's more here. Oh, actually, yeah, it's actually pretty diverse. Actually, a lot of atheist women in India. Great. Grape.
Amazing. Grape.
Grape. Amazing. Okay, so that's good. Yeah. Okay, guys. So this was a good way to end the stream. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Like the video. Guys, you liking this video helps us grow the channel. So do not leave. Do not leave without liking our videos. Help us grow. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you even more than a second to like the video. So please do not leave. Everybody is responsible for liking this video before. And if you want to do more, you could also leave a comment after the stream is over. And liking and subscribing is also necessary. Okay.
Yes.
And
you should comment what was your favorite segment this week, because I like that. Actually is good feedback for me because I picked the news.
Okay, people are upset. I understand. Grape is Pakistan.
We know it's Pakistan, but grape is too good to not include. It's so good.
Okay. You are one country, guys. Let's not pretend. Take back Pakistan. India, take back Pakistan. Okay, we're trying to reunite you back together. Okay, and hit notification bell as well. Okay, and join our newsletter for free, sexy, blasphemous art newsletter in the description. If you join our newsletter, you get my book Why There Is No God, which is the bestseller for free. Right? It's a bestseller, and you get it for free. This book. Okay, you get this book for free and also you get our blasphemous art. Every week we have new blasphemous art, juicy, sexy one. Susanna is on a new theme right now. She's making Islamic. She's turning Islamic scholars into female and objectifying them sexually.
Oh, shut up!
No, seriously.
No. Have you ever wondered what Zakir Naik would look like as a sexy woman? Well, you don't have to wonder anymore because I've imagined it. It's amazing.
Turn it into art, both nude and covered. So if you prefer the nude version, that's available there. So yeah, we have a lot of Hindu goddesses, Hindu gods objectified sexually, and also Muhammad, Khadija, Fatima. We have Mother Mary, Jesus, and now apparently Islamic scholars. So there's that. Oh, we're also about to put Khamenei in a hijab. All right, that art is coming. Yes, cool. So yeah, if you like all of that, no, people are saying yuck. No, guys, they look beautiful. They look actually very sexy as girls. Okay, go check it out.
The sexy Dr. Nayak, like when we got the finished product, I was laughing so hard. I love our sexy Dr. Nayak so much. It's so amazing.
Yeah, guys, go check that out. Every week we have new blasphemous art. Again, you're missing out if you're not on our newsletter. Link in the description. Okay, subscribe.
Oh
okay,
my God.
Cool. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.